What's up, guys? Khamzat Chimaev is apparently going to be fighting for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, guys. I mean, this is... What world are we living in, man? I woke up this morning, did not even expect this. This sounds like sometimes, this kind of reminds me of the Islam Makhachev Ilya Topuria thing, where it's kind of a similar feeling, where I kind of feel like this is almost like fan-made. Like, is this real? Is this legit? We're going to talk about it because there is a report going around from, I forgot his name. Let me actually look up his Twitter so I can actually give you guys his right handle. But he's a guy on Twitter, and he's been, look, obviously we do see our fair share of fake news where, we see fake reports, fake news of, rage bait type things on Twitter all the time. However, I will say, I have seen, I've paid attention, and I pay attention to these things, guys. I don't just willy-nilly believe everything. I'm a very skeptical guy, and I really want, it takes me a lot to believe something, so I have to believe the source. I will say I do think that this source, I do see people saying that Kevin, his name is Real Kevin K, that he reports fake news. I think he has gotten things wrong, so I'll say that. I think he has gotten things wrong. I saw with Manel Cap, he had something wrong with him, but he's also gotten a lot of things right and has broken a lot of stories. I can't really remember in specific, but he has broken kind of similar stories, guys, and let me know if I'm too low or anything like that. And also, guys, I'm curious to know, I want to know what your thoughts are in the chat, because I'm curious. Let's see, guys, are you guys there? Hey guys, what's up? Let me know if there's anything wrong going on. But Kevin, he reported, as you guys can already see from the title of the video, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of news that went down. Obviously, also the co-main event, blah, blah, blah. But Kevin, he apparently said breaking news, and I saw this the minute it came out. Breaking news per sources, Khamzat Chimaev versus Jiri Prochazka for the UFC main event in UFC 327 in April 11th in Miami. So apparently this is, and Kevin also says, this is also for the 205-pound title. So a lot of breakdown there, and this is what's so interesting. There are 3 divisions, basically, that we're talking about because of this announcement. And like I said, there's a lot to go off of this, and I'm going to talk about, oh, look, Johnny Monday, shout out to Johnny, bro. I'm hyped that you're here. What's good, Jack? I want this to be true because someone has to get Khamzat out of there. Yuri is tough, and if Khamzat can't keep him down, tough night. Yeah, and that's something I'm going to talk about as well. We're going to talk about, obviously, my thoughts on the matchup, because I have seen this kind of sentiment online. Oh, Yuri's kind of fucked. There's some people actually saying this. Guys, I don't think Yuri's fucked. I'm not here saying that Yuri's going to automatically win. It's something I want to think about. I mean, keep in mind, people, we kind of forget. At one point, Khamzat was fighting at 170. It's crazy just to see how big he's gotten. What is the reason for this? We haven't really seen the UFC say anything. Khamzat Chimaev as well also tweeted 205 pounds, which if you needed a reason to believe it even more, he's saying, hey, I want to move up to 205. He's kind of made some comments like that before. And we saw that, like I said, we literally saw the same thing, a pretty similar thing happen last year with Islam. But like I said, 3 divisions are affected by this. And what the 3 divisions are is heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight, right? Middleweight is also affected because now we have a vacant middleweight title because obviously Khamzat's moving up, and Alex Pereira is probably moving up to heavyweight since he's been teasing that for a minute. It seems like that's probably the fight that they're going with, and obviously that's why now there's a vacant light heavyweight title or a vacant light heavyweight title, and now will probably be Pereira for the heavyweight title. Now, will that be Cyril Gane like some people have said? I personally don't think so. That would be extremely, I think, just disrespectful to Tom Aspinall. The fact that you kept John Jones as the champion for how many years, and then you're going to just strip this guy? That's ridiculous, in my opinion. That's the biggest joke I think I've ever seen. So I really hope that doesn't happen, but it could happen, but I don't think so. Dana White kind of reacted to this with it was like a side-eye gift, so I think he's kind of like, what the hell? No, that's not happening. I think that they're probably just waiting for Aspinall, and they're probably going to do the Cyril Gane rematch. Or, I don't know. I mean, Pereira, I guess, I don't know. Are they doing John Jones versus Pereira? Is Pereira fighting for the title? Because, we do forget, Pereira, I mean, I would assume he's probably fighting either John Jones or a title. I don't think, obviously he's not going to fight who is there? He's going to fight a Josh Hokett, imagine. He's not going to fight someone like that. He's obviously going to fight a massive name. So it's either for the title or it's for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Is probably, I would assume, where he's coming from. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, yeah, you guys can. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I think Lada's TBD there. Is John Jones going to come back? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it'll be for the White House. I don't think so at this point. I mean, it could be. I don't know. I'm up in the air with that one. But light heavyweight, let's talk about just this matchup alone for right now. I mean, Khamzat, obviously, look, the elephant in the room, the grappling, obviously, is going to be his biggest strong suit. He dominated DDP, but this is 20 more pounds than 185. This is a big difference. I'm not so convinced. And by the way, Jiri, I mean, he's not like I'm not saying he's a good grappler even, but he's not like a slouch on the ground where we've seen him be just absolutely clueless. Like, he's shot for takedowns. He's practiced grappling. He's a big, strong guy. We've seen him also really just have a really big heart, so he's going to be a tough guy, I think, to finish for Khamzat. And this is his chance. This is Jiri's chance to get the title again. Obviously, he had it a very long time ago when he had to vacate that whole thing, but I guess if he wins, probably in his head, he's like, I can fight Pereira. I mean, this is what's happening now. Is Jiri just going to win and say, I want to move the heavyweight and fight Pereira? You know, it's tough, man, and I don't know, because I know this isn't the UFC's fault. These are, obviously, I think just the fighters probably getting more money, not wanting to cut as much weight, and probably just being like, look, I want to relax a little bit. And also, you know, in Islam Makhachev's case, he did defend the title a few times and things like that, so he probably just wanted more challenge. But with Ilya, I don't believe that he couldn't make 145. Maybe that is the case. Now he probably can't make 145, I agree. But before, I don't know. I don't know if that was necessarily the original reason. Johnny Monday says, Jack, what I'm most excited about is Big Onk saying he has unfinished business with Pereira, which is true. Most UFC fans hate Onk, but they're 1-1. Yeah, no. So listen, I've said, look, Big Onk. I actually am a Big Onk sympathizer as well. Listen, Big Onk, his fights aren't even as boring as people make it. He does have some decent knockouts and things like that. So I think that he does get too much hate, but I don't think that they're going to run it back ever again. I mean, I agree, they're 1-1. And if we're going to be totally unbiased, I mean, it's not necessarily fair to say, like, oh, I don't think it's case. If I'm going to be fair, I don't think it's case closed. Pereira is way better than Onk. I think I would probably pick Pereira. I picked Pereira in the first one, picked Pereira in the second one, so I'd probably pick him in the third one, and the first one was really close. It's just Pereira's a tough guy. I mean, Pereira, when you have that knockout power, it negates skill. Like we saw in Magomed. Magomed could have been better than Pereira. He got knocked out, you know? And, I mean, that's part of also being better, too. But Piggly Wiggly, what's up? I see you're in the chat. So this fight, I don't know. I really don't know if Khamzat is going to win so easily, like as people might think. I don't know, man. It's really tough. I think that it really is going to depend, obviously, on the first round. These are, you know, Khamzat's also going to be bigger. Is he going to gas out more? What's up? I see Jiri Tardid. Jiri Tardid. Okay. You see, this is what happens. You see, I'm reading this shit out loud. Jiri Tardid. All right, my fault. Hello, everyone, though. What's up, Jiri? I'm just calling Jiri. Jack, so true, and it's great to hear you defending Onk. Yeah, no, look, I've said before, look, was I rooting for Pereira against Onk? Absolutely. I love Pereira more than the next guy. But Big Onk, man, you know, he definitely, you know, I like that he tried to do his own thing with the Big Onk stuff. I like a guy, you know, he's showing a little personality. He's a funny guy. He was doing a little bit of trolling. I don't mind him. What's up, Steph? I see you here. Khamzat versus Jiri is not even confirmed by UFC, so I don't believe it, Piggly Wiggly says. So we talked about this in the beginning. Kevin, like I said, so Kevin reported this. This is coming from Real Kevin. I think that he has a lot of good fight announcements, and he covers a lot of things. Like, he was actually the first to report that Manel Kape wasn't going to get the title. I don't know if he confirmed that it was Tatsuya Taira, but that was obviously correct. It seems like, according to Joshua Vancette, he said that he's going to fight Tatsuya Taira. I kind of do believe it. You know, I kind of actually do believe it, if I'm going to be honest. Could the UFC maybe do a switcheroo and maybe change their mind? Perhaps, but I think it's going to happen. And I think probably the reaction from the fans is probably confirmation to say, yeah, let me do it. Khamzat versus Jiri is not even... Kevin, sometimes his posts are true, but sometimes they're not. But most of the time, they are not. No, I disagree with that heavily. I think that it's the opposite. Yeah, there are times where he does report inaccurately, and I talked about that in the beginning of the stream. What was an example? Manel Kape, that's actually... He did fuck up in that, where he said that Manel, I think, turned down a fight, and Manel was like, I didn't turn it down. They, you know, and it was kind of like... some sort of situation there that he got messed up. So yeah, he does mess up. However, to post this, I don't know. I think it's real. I do think it's real. More times than not, he's like he has posted fake stuff and he got clowned. I remember there was a time recently where he posted fake news and it was like this didn't wind up happening. And I think he had to come out and even say, like, hey, look, I fucked up. I got it wrong. Whatever, So clearly, I think he's a guy that probably jumps the gun a little bit too fast in reporting these things. So, yeah, of course, we do have to take a little bit of a grain of salt. And there is a chance with that, knowing that he has that, to say maybe he got a little bit of wind and rushed to it with this Jiri and Khamzat news, because that is obviously a massive scoop that you'd probably want to report on. So he could be. But I think that, honestly, if I'm going to take a guess, my faith is Kevin knows what he's talking about, and I'm believing him. That's if I had to take a bet, I would do that. But obviously, you're right. This isn't confirmed. However, what is helping this is Khamzat is coming out saying 205. We have a ton of other things that kind of go with this, and it makes sense. Look, Khamzat's a big guy, and I believe it. Khamzat makes a lot of money. Khamzat probably was like, look, I'm making all this money. I don't feel like cutting to 185. That's a tough weight cut. Let me weigh in a little bit extra, and will that ultimately bite him in the ass and make him lose the fight against Jiri? That's possible. I definitely think it's possible. I think that, like I said, I've been saying, I don't think that, Jiri losing is such a done deal. I don't think it's 1,000% done deal. I think that it's a very close and competitive fight. I like this fight, by the way. Let me say that because I didn't really say my opinion on the matchup. I think I've seen some people complain, say, what did Khamzat do to get the shot? Look, Khamzat's a champ. He beat DDP. This guy, I don't blame him. I don't mind him getting the title shot. I mean, Carlos Ulberg, what has he really done? I mean, he beat Jan, and that was really it, right? I mean, is that his last win against Jan Blachowicz? I mean, and I'm not saying, look, Carlos Ulberg, obviously, I was the guy chanting for Carlos versus Pereira. I thought that was the fight that they should have done at light heavyweight. But obviously now we're in this whole different stage right now of where we are at light heavyweight. Let me see what you guys are saying, though. I am an Ankh fan, but being fair, I see him, Pereira, and head movement Jiri are the three best. Head movement Jiri are the three best. Okay, so you're saying Ankh, Pereira, and head movement Jiri, when he's actually using his head movement, are the best three at 205. Well, I think that's a fact. I mean, I don't think anybody could deny that. I mean, Carlos Ulberg, yeah, maybe he could have a showing and show himself, but I don't think it's going to really do that much of a difference. I think that Pereira would beat Ulberg. Ankalaev, who knows? I mean, Ankalaev, I'm really curious to see. I feel like he is good, but I kind of want to see a little bit more to confirm how good he is. Maybe I overhyped him. Maybe I overestimated him in a way. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jiri's pressure is going to melt Khamzat. That's interesting. So that is true. However, I do wonder, will his pressure be negated by the fact that we know Khamzat's going to come out and shoot probably right away. He's going to shoot frequently. So you can't really go forward. You know what I'm saying? Even if a guy's, doing a takedown, unless he's exhausted, I feel like more likely than he's probably going to get taken down. And I think the best chance is him surviving the first round, kind of like we've seen with other ones. And what's really baffling about this, man, and I just thought of this, is like Khamzat, I said when he fought DDP, I thought that was the best Khamzat we've ever seen. Khamzat on 185, maybe the Kamaru Usman fight, he didn't look good. I was saying, look, maybe that was him kind of, look, it's his first time at light heavyweight. There's so many things. Maybe he was getting used to it. I don't know if he was injured or anything going into that fight. I think there might have been some talk of that, but DDP, I feel like he finally got the cut under control, and I think he should have just gone with that. And I think if he fought at light heavyweight, and maybe respect to Khamzat, because this is a tougher challenge. I think at light heavyweight, I mean, we were seriously like, who could beat Khamzat at light heavyweight? Little did we know he's not even going to defend his title at middleweight. Little did we know he's not even going to defend his title at middleweight. He's just going straight for light heavyweight. Carlos beats Reyes in his last fight. Oh, right. Yeah, so, okay. Carlos beat Dominic Reyes. I know Dominic was coming off of a couple wins, but, I'm not exactly, like, broken up. This isn't like even an Arman Sarukian situation where there's a clear number one guy. Like, Jiri, obviously, he's the bigger name. It makes sense. I would rather see Jiri versus Khamzat than Ulberg versus Khamzat. That's for sure. I definitely would rather that. And, I think that, like I said, I think ultimately it will come down to how does Khamzat deal with, grappling a bigger guy? Does that tire him out more? How is he going to deal with more size himself? Will that tire him out? I would think so, and seeing how he reacted the first time he went to 185, and he gassed against Kamaru Usman, and that was obviously against short notice Kamaru Usman. I don't know. I have worries. I don't know who I'm picking. I think I'm going to pick Jiri, to be honest. I'm leaning towards more Jiri. However, Khamzat really did impress me. I've really underestimated Khamzat a lot of times in my life, so that's kind of why I'm a little bit hesitant to say, Khamzat is going to lose, but I don't know. If Khamzat gets a 205 shot before he defends his title, the UFC is an absolute joke. So, like I said, my opinion on this is, like, I'm not exactly broken up. It would be one thing if there was a guy like, like I said, Arman Tsarukyan, or there was a clear number one contender, a guy who deserves it that's getting screwed over, a Tom Aspinall, something like that, where there's a clear number one guy and the champ is avoiding him and this, that. I would understand that, but he's not skipping over, I think, anybody. Yeah, Carlos, the fight was going to probably be Carlos versus Jiri. However, Carlos, his last fight was Dominic Reyes. Who did he fight before that? Jan Blachowicz. These are older guys, that aren't exactly the best of wins, so I'm not exactly, like, broken up. Look, I was the guy to say I wanted to see Pereira and Olberg, like I said, so that would have been my dream ultimately. I don't think Pereira should go to heavyweight. At this point, though, I'm a little bit sold on the heavyweight thing. Like, I'm getting a little more excited about it as we're going on. So that feeling is going away, and more excitement is entering my body a bit. But still, I worry for Pereira. I don't know if that's a great move for him. And yeah, I'm glad Alex is moving up. Well, like I said, I'm glad. I don't know if I'm glad. I would like to see the John Jones fight. If it's the John Jones fight, I'd like that, because I think that's a fight that he could win, and especially, like, John Jones, he's getting older. Pereira hits, like, with one punch knockout power. John Jones, I feel like his weakness has been the boxing. And even though, obviously, Pereira is more of a kickboxer, he's not as much getting into boxing range. He will when you're against the cage, and maybe he will and make that adjustment against John Jones, because he did that against Israel Adesanya a lot. He went into boxing range. So maybe he'll go into boxing range more and knock him out. I think that's possible. And John Jones, we've seen him struggle taking down some guys. Like, we saw him struggle against Dominic. I know but it's so hard to judge with John Jones because he's so old, but, his fights are so long, in between. So it's like, I can't, what am I going to say? He had trouble taking down Dominic Reyes. Like, he didn't have trouble taking down Cyril Gane or Stipe. So, it's tough to tell. His takedowns, I feel like, have gotten better in the way that they're, like, more intelligent. Like, he mixes up different takedowns, trips, and things that I think really benefit him. And I think that's why he was able to take down. Well, I think Cyril Gane probably just, I don't know what he was doing going into that fight, like what he was training with, like, kids probably with the wrestling or something. Pause. I didn't mean it like that. Hold up. That might have sounded wrong. I'm not making any allegations about Cyril Gane, but I'm talking about, but even Stipe, right? Stipe is a guy who's, like, practiced wrestling for forever. You know what I'm saying? He's a great wrestler, but, I think the trip was really good that John Jones got on him. And that's something we've seen him train in training. Like, there's tons of training videos since moving to heavyweight, and I've done videos on why. But I think it's because John Jones recognizes, like, these are stronger guys. I don't necessarily want to go for a strength battle with them. If I could just get them off balance, it's a lot easier to just take them down, not as much energy used, and that's a fact. So, will that ultimately transfer to Pereira? It's going to be difficult because Pereira, obviously, look, he's obviously been practicing grappling and wrestling, and look, Glover, I think, has done a really good job at teaching him, because, like, against Ankalaev, he did good in the second fight, and even the first fight, he did really good defending takedowns. So maybe that's enough, but at the same time, John Jones is just really smart. It would be a good fight, but I think that Pereira would win. I'm kind of leaning towards Pereira right now. That's kind of where I'm leaning. All the 180, well, I'll read this. All 185 fighters should be mad right now. 185 title won't be defended for more than a year, in my opinion. Well, I don't think so. I think that probably this would come with Khamzat, as I assume, vacating the title. I would assume that probably Khamzat's going to vacate the title. We heard this last year, that there was kind of a thing in the UFC where, you can't have two titles at once anymore. Could they break the rule for Khamzat? Yeah, but I think probably what they're waiting for, why maybe the announcements are all waiting, Nasruddin Imavov, I think, has to get a shot at middleweight. That's the obvious choice. Then you have, I think, the winner of Strickland and Hernandez fight for the title. I think that would be, Hernandez and Imavov, that would be a good fight, but we could wind up seeing even Sean Strickland versus Imavov too, which Sean Strickland obviously has been catching a lot of press this week. It'll be interesting to see what the UFC does, because, yeah, will him being a champ and putting him in a title fight probably create a lot of not good headlines, but create headlines that will probably promote the event? Yes, but is it the type of promotion you want? is it the type of promotion that Paramount's going to be okay with? If you say to Paramount, hey, man, this is going to be the event for, I don't know, let's say June or May or something like that, or I guess not May, probably need a little longer, like July in the summer, we're doing Khamzat versus, we're doing Nasruddin versus Sean Strickland, the guy that was calling Bad Bunny the F-bomb, as you guys saw in my video. That did pretty good. So shout out to y'all for watching that. If you guys haven't seen it already, go in there and react to a lot of the ridiculous things that that Sean Strickland said in that. Pereira moving up to heavyweight would be great for the let me just reread that entirely. Pereira moving to heavyweight would be great for the division. He's an active guy, and I feel like that would help the division. Yeah, I mean, you're right, because the division is suffering. You are right about that. That is a good point. And it definitely would spice things up. But my concern is, though, what if he goes up there, especially when, keep in mind, I'm kind of more lenient on it now because we've seen now Cyril Gane has a whole thing now with Tom Aspinall. I think I wasn't really so thrilled about Aspinall versus Pereira for the next fight. Like, that was where I was coming from, because I really rated, especially when we were talking about, think about the night that Magomed lost to Pereira in the last fight. Like, a lot has changed since then. Aspinall didn't even fight Gane yet, all that stuff. So I just wasn't a big fan of the idea of Aspinall versus Pereira, just because, like, I felt that Aspinall would probably just take him down easily. He's a young guy, I felt like he had a lot of advantages over Pereira, and I just didn't think it was a good fight, and I would rather see Pereira defend his light heavyweight title. But, if, especially with this thing going on, if he's fighting John Jones, I like it. I like it a lot more. And to give him the John Jones fight, he beats John Jones, then we could see them, I think everybody would want to see an Aspinall fight. Stipe hadn't fought in like 4 years. Yeah, exactly. No. I wasn't trying to say, that's what I'm trying to say. I agree with you. I'm saying it's hard to tell how good John Jones is because, look at his opponents. We could say all those things. I'm just saying from what he's trained even as well, I think that's something that he's picked up in his game. How will it work against Pereira? I'm not saying it's going to necessarily work because it worked against Stipe or because it worked against Gane, but just because he's been training it a lot, and Pereira is newer to grappling. Like, putting out all these different moves. It's not like a traditional takedown he's going to be putting on him. It's like, he might really fuck with him, in the clinch. Jones looked beyond bad on the feet last fight against an old man. I don't think it was beyond bad. I mean, I think that I don't think he looked bad, to be honest. I thought that he actually looked improved on the boxing. I thought his head movement was a little bit better. I think one thing that, we need to see John Jones stop is going back to the... And by the way, guys, I know I'm defending John. I've defended him against the last two things. Against the Stipe claim and basically both about the Stipe fight. I hate John Jones more than the next guy. I'll clown John Jones all I want, but I'm going to say this. I'll be honest. I thought that he actually didn't look that bad on the feet, but I will say what I think he needs to stop doing is the running when he's against the cage and he's like running away from his opponent. Pereira, I don't think that's going to really be good, and I think Pereira would be smart to study that and come up with something. Maybe a kick, maybe kicking that side. I don't know. Maybe, picking up on reads so you can say, okay, I think he's going to, when he does this, he'll start running. That I think is going to probably get him hurt. I think he's going to run, and then, what if he has nowhere to run? The panic is going to set in, oh shit, where can I go? I'm going to lose my, I know it's not really an O because he lost via DQ, but I'm going to lose my O in his head, I think that is what's going to happen, that I think he'll win, Pereira. But to say he looked bad, I don't think he looked necessarily bad. It's not like he was in any danger. He had good moves. He had spinning attacks. He had good teeps, I thought. Was breaking down Stipe really good. Intelligent fighting. So they're waiting for Saturday to go by to start seeing announcements. Yeah. They're waiting for Saturday. Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I think Saturday is what they're waiting for because, like I said, Strickland wins. Maybe they'll do Imavov versus Strickland. Maybe they won't. Maybe it's one of those things where it's kind of like last year where, remember, we were waiting for Bilal and JDM. It's like one of those things where we're waiting for this fight, and if Strickland wins, they're like, hell no, we got to get Khamzat versus Imavov because we cannot have Strickland fight for a title. But if Hernandez wins, maybe they're going to say, oh yeah, you go up. No, I don't think it's really that strong. But it will be interesting, man, because I don't know. If I'm Paramount, I'd be pretty like, hey, buddy, like we're chill about this last media one, but now you're going to put him in a main event, pay-per-view, or PLE, whatever it's called now, and you're going to have him potentially be one of your champions. Again, yeah, I don't know about that, but It could happen. I mean, I would be excited. I would like that Imavov rematch because obviously Sean Strickland fought Imavov. When was it? Like 2022, 2021, something like that? It was like 2022, I think. And he took it on like a short notice. He fought the month before, and then the next month he was like, oh yeah, let me fight. I'll fight Imavov, and fought him at 205. And, you know, it was a pretty close fight. The first 2 rounds were for Imavov, and the last 3 rounds were Strickland. But obviously since then, Imavov has won a whole lot, and that was at 205, and Strickland has lost. So it would be interesting to see it. I don't know. I think it will be different. You know, I think that at least Imavov will do better, and seeing that it was pretty much 3-2, you know, could be big if he's better, because that could be 1 round difference. Strickland beats perfect. I was talking about this. Strickland beats Imavov again. Imavov is fast but takes time to reset, and in those moments Strickland will put volume on him. That's a very good point, actually. I will say that is a very, very good point. Like Strickland, I could see that against Imavov, and I think though, like, my question about it is in the later rounds, yeah, especially in those reset moments, Sean Strickland I think will take over, but will there be enough damage to be put on in the first 3 rounds where maybe Imavov steals it, or at least 3 rounds and gets the fight? You know, that's possible. And especially we've seen Strickland as of late not really put on that pressure as much. You know, like we look at the DDP fight. I mean, where was any of that energy? So who knows? Even his coaches are saying it. Remember, Eric Nixick was like, I don't know what happened. So it's not even just me saying it. I don't think John Jones' fight is happening with Pereira. I see the Gane fight happening instead of Pereira. So I would have loved the Gane fight, man. I was advocating for it for years. If it's not for a title, I say, yeah, why not? If it's for an interim title, I think why not do an interim title? I think that would be very respectful. I think that would be a great idea for the UFC to do, because I think you saying, hey, this is for an interim title, I think Aspinall would say, okay, I appreciate it. You guys had my back, and kind of help mend their relationship that we've seen kind of deteriorate over the past, few weeks, few months at this point. Where Aspinall and Dana White, they kind of seem to be going back and forth, trying to keep it polite. Could this thing boil over? We'll see. But I think it would be a good way to show them, like, hey, we do still respect you, you know, and we still actually do care about you. And look, we're not going to strip you, but look, we want to put on this main event. Maybe. I would like that a lot, man. Gane versus Pereira. That would be a sick fight, because they're both heavyweights, both great. They're both going to be heavyweights for it. They're both strikers. Man, I think that Pereira could win that one. You know, Pereira's just such a skinnier dude, I think, than Gane. Gane's a really thick guy. Pause. I don't mean to be like that, but they're like the same height, yet he's like looks a million times bigger, and they're not that far apart in weight. But Pereira's got like what his bones must be like metal or something like that. Like, what the fuck? I feel like this guy looks skinny, and then he's like weighs like 5,000 pounds and cuts all this weight. Like, what the fuck? You know, so I don't know. I think that he could fare well at heavyweight, to be honest. Just because the power alone, the striking IQ, I mean, he's a great fighter, obviously. I think he might be one of the best strikers ever in the UFC, period, to be honest with you guys. This year there has been such a lack of announcements from the UFC, for real, deadass. Like, we literally don't know. I mean, this is our first glimpse at an upcoming title fight. We have literally been in the dark for the past few weeks on any title fights. But I do want to say, I think they're waiting for this weekend, and I think we're going to get big announcements. I think we're going to get, boom, here's April, here's May, and here's the White House. I wouldn't be surprised if they do all 3 at once. And here's the cards, and it's big announcements. So I wouldn't be shocked about that. It was Jan 2023 when Sean fought Imavov, right? Right, yeah, because, okay. Apparently, he had a broken arm in the second fight with DDP, IDK. Oh, right. Yeah, I think there was some sort of, injury talk or whatever, but I blame the White House for but look at the Paulo Costa fight. There's been mad fights where he hasn't exactly pumped up the aggression. I blame the White House for lack of announcements. Probably, because I think a lot of it is like, hey, we want to keep guys. What if this one's not available? We don't want to, fill them in for April and then we need them in June. So yeah, I think that's honestly a good point. Ilya would beat current McGregor. I don't think so. McGregor would knock out Ilya, man. Ilya's nothing, man. McGregor's the GOAT still. Just kidding. Yeah, obviously I do agree with you. Yeah, I think that's a fact. I mean, I don't know if anybody could disagree with that at this point. It would take quite luck from Conor McGregor to beat Ilya. I think Ilya would just mean, for so many reasons. I mean, there's a striking. Well, there's obviously the striking that he's really good, but I meant to say grappling. I misspoke. The grappling is, I think, the biggest thing is, I think Ilya will probably take down McGregor, and I'm not saying he's going to easily submit him or anything like that, but I just think that mixing in the grappling with his striking is extremely difficult. And I think that's why I thought that Max Holloway was going to get knocked out, and he did get knocked out by Ilya, is because when you're mixing it up, I mean, it's hard to defend yourself. Like, I mean, seriously, like, you know, you don't know what's coming at you. You're always tense, like, yo, what the fuck? Is it going to be a takedown, you know, mentally, you know? So it's tough. So I think he would kill McGregor in the first round, I think. Or maybe second round. Maybe it goes to the second round. You don't know. But I think probably first round. First round, probably. Him taking away Gan's movement with calf kicks will leave Gan defenseless. Pretty much his whole defense is movement. Yeah, that is true. But also, look, Gan has calf kicks, Gan switches stances, Gan has good footwork, so, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, Pereira is landing the kicks. You know, like I said, also, he's a very thick guy. You know, we're talking about his calf kicks against skinnier middleweights that don't have as much calf, don't have as much calf on their bone, like heavyweights, too, that don't, and now heavyweights, Gan is like I said, Gan's a big dude, bro. There's a lot of muscle to get to him. There's a lot of, you know, I'm sure just a lot of, he probably feels, I don't want to say this, man, but he probably feels hard. Pause, guys. I know. All right. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean hard like that, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like his body hard. Pause. Once again, I don't mean to be like that once again, but I'm just saying a fact. I think he's probably a bit difficult to get to. Sorry, guys, if my stream was acting up. I'll be trying to get this fixed, man. I got to work on it for sure. Get my streaming set up BAW type, you know. But no, it's just because I'm on my laptop right now. That's why it's bugging out a little bit there. But we're all good now. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. Like I said, I think the takedown. I mean the striking. I've been saying, look, I was saying like I think for UFC 300, give me Pereira versus Gan for 3 rounds. That's a cool fight to have on. Like. That's an amazing fight. So they could wind up doing that. I would like the fight. I wouldn't complain about it. But I feel like, come on, you might as well just do John Jones versus Pereira at the White House. Call it a day. You know, I understand. Oh, my God. If John Jones pulled out of that fight, I think that Dana White would have a stroke. I think Dana White would be so angry. Be like, I know it. Joshua Van says he's fighting Tatsuya Taira. So that's actually a good thing to bring up because, yeah, also Kevin reported this. As well, and said it was going to be the co-main event of that Miami card. Now we're also hearing, well, before then we heard Joshua Van say he's going to fight Tatsuya Taira. So, we'll see. I don't know. I'm just shocked that they're not just waiting for Pantoja because he said he was going to be ready in July. You know, so I don't get it. But at the same time, why not? You know, I think Pantoja, like, why rush it, dude? Take your time, really recover. And if Joshua Van, I know Joshua Van's been really itching for a fight. You know, this guy, obviously, look, he was fighting so much when he wasn't champ. So I'm sure he really wants to fight. Oh, Aiden Wade says, what's up, Jack? What's up to you, Aiden Wade? What's up? But yeah, like I said, also the middleweight title is affected. Everything is affected. So the whole UFC right now, 3 of the divisions right now, I mean, there's so much up in the air. And I think this week we'll find some clarity about where they're going. The thing is, if Tom's eyes don't heal, and apparently he's still having issues post-surgery, they'll need an interim. They'll need an interim at heavyweight. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If I could see them doing an interim heavyweight title, I could see that. But I don't believe that they're gonna just. Dude, if they strip Tom Aspinall of his title, that is such a slap in the face. I mean, there's been people saying online that he, you know, and I don't know if this is true. Once again, this is one of those bullshit things you hear, so take it with such a grain of salt. But I saw someone report that he was like, "Oh, I'll vacate it if y'all release me." Don't know how true that is. But I feel like that would probably be his attitude. You know, hey, if you're fucking you treated me like shit when I got my eye poked. You didn't tell me officially that, like, he the way Tom Aspinall find out he wasn't getting the John Jones fight was from Dana White at that press conference. There was no call. There was no, oh, by the way, this is happening. Let's keep you in the loop. They let this guy on the hook. They left him on the hook for how long? For like 2 years, just for this guy, you know, to literally get stripped of his title because he's dealing with an injury that was inflicted by a foul, and the guy who fouled him is going to go on to fight a super fight with a superstar in the UFC. That's the biggest slap in the face. If they do that to Tom, man, if they do that to Tom, I mean, we have, like, the UFC has lost their, I mean, they've done some shit things to people, man, but that is tough. That is tough. Who said, I don't know what that's about, but Gon versus Alex, who would I pick? I would probably pick Alex, but Gon looked really good in the last fight. Gon has a really good jab. Gon has a good jab, and I feel like that maybe could cause problems for Pereira. That would be interesting. If Tom is affected that much, they might just do undisputed. I can see them stripping Tom, especially with their relationship with right now Tom has with the UFC, with the relationship that Tom has. So, I mean, I understand, yeah, they're not happy with him, but to me, it really seems like they're in the wrong. I think that Dana White, I mean, dude, that would be terrible. You know, I think the biggest thing would just be the hypocrisy, the obvious hypocrisy of, you guys did not strip John Jones. I mean, you guys let him play with your belt, hold it hostage for years to have a fake fight, not to actually fight the interim champion, to ignore him, devalue the brand, in my opinion, John Jones did with doing all that, probably devalued the brand. And you let him do all that. You have him have the belt for how long? I mean, the guy injured his shoulder. A year later, he fights Stipe, a guy who clearly he didn't even should have fought. And then you vacate it pretty much, how much later after that? 8 months, 9 months later? So you've wasted nearly 2 years of his time. You know, it's crazy. And you're talking about, and let's go all the way back. Tom Aspinall filled in how many weeks' notice when John Jones pulled out to fight Sergey Pavlovich, a young heavyweight, for the interim title. You know? It's crazy. So I think that would just be so fucked up. It would be so hypocritical. But I don't think they'll do it. I'm going to put up a poll because I'm curious what y'all think. I see y'all. So far it says Khamzat, but it's very close. I saw y'all both. I saw it kind of go back and forth a little bit, Jiri and Khamzat. I'm going to put up a new poll because I'm curious what y'all think. Will the UFC strip Tom Aspinall? It's either yes or no. You guys could let me know. I'm curious. I don't think so. I don't think they will. MMA Jack is back. What the hell? Just came in, brother. Love the videos. Jiri via KO. Shout out to you, MMA Jack. I appreciate you for the donation. And MMA Jack, like I said, I mean, bro, we're like 2 peas in the pot at this point. The guys stopped by the live stream a few times before, and this is another one of those great visits. Shout out to you, MMA Jack, and thank you for supporting the channel. And Jiri via KO, I kind of agree with you. Khamzat or Jiri, Jack? I just said I think Jiri, man. I'm going towards Jiri, but I'm not so convinced because, like I said, Khamzat has shown to me, like, I've underestimated Khamzat before. So that's kind of what holds me back. However, I am still going with my gut to say I think Yuri's going to win. And I hate to say it because, once again, I keep underestimating Khamzat. And I said this about the DDP fight. I said this about the Whitaker fight. I literally said all the time, I'm so confident this guy's going to lose. No way he wins. This is another one of those times where I don't think he's going to win this. I think he's biting off more than he can chew. I think that is that is a massive accomplishment if he's able to do that. But I think Jiri. That's my opinion. They should put him Ankalaev. They should put him Ankalaev for Jiri. People think because he got knocked out by Pereira, he ain't dangerous. Nah, it's a fact. Look, obviously Ankalaev, I agree. This guy is still threatened the division. He could still definitely even become a champion. You never know what could go down the line if he just keeps winning fights. However, I don't think the UFC is thinking, oh, yeah, let's fucking have this guy in there. You know what I'm saying? I think the UFC are like, hey, you know what? You work your way back up. We really don't want you as a champ. We really don't want you to rely on you to headline events. Not because he's unreliable at showing up. I don't know how he is necessarily with that, but I'm just saying, obviously, the name value is not there. So, like, come on, you guys really want to see Ankalaev versus Khamzat? I mean, actually, I gotta say, that actually isn't a bad fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be an interesting one, but I actually think Khamzat might win that one. weirdly enough. But at the same time, it is a really big size difference, really big size difference. Hey, is this actually true? So, Hayden, I'm going to be real with you. We don't know if it's actually true. If I were to take a bet, I do think it's true, just because we talked about Kevin, this guy, real Kevin K. Shout out to him. He reported it. He's reported, I feel like there's been a dispute in the chat. I know, obviously, Piggly Wiggly says differently. But I feel like Kevin K has reported a lot of stuff accurately, more times than not. But to Piggly Wiggly's point, yes, there have been times where he's reported things inaccurately. So I'm not here to say, I'm telling you guys, if he said it, it's true. I'm not there. But I am leaning towards it's true. That is what I will say, to be quite honest with you guys. It's very difficult to guess. Oh, no, actually, I'll read. Oh, no, I went a little too ahead. If they make this fight, the UFC is officially dead. If they make this fight, UFC is officially dead. Do you guys agree with that? Let me know. I don't know. I don't know. I actually feel like, in a way, it's actually kind of a fun fight in a little bit. Like, I actually kind of feel like, to me, I actually kind of feel happy that they're making this, because in a way it doesn't make sense, but I can almost at least see their thought process and see their effort. It is like, it is quite like, we're shocking the fans. This is a fun one. What I'm hoping, it gives me two feelings. I feel conflicted, because in one hand, I feel, this was a really good fight. It's interesting for fans, and I like the fight. On the other hand, I kind of feel like it's a little bit of like it gives me like a cash grab feel to me. But to be honest, that's what I keep saying. I don't think this is the UFC's doing. I don't think if they called up Khamzat and said move up, this is a cash grab automatically. But that I would say that. But I think what happened is, look, I think Khamzat was saying, look, I can't make the weight, just like Ilya couldn't make the weight. I believe that these guys are lying. I think that I think he was, clearly getting bigger. So I actually think he wasn't lying. I think he was making really brutal cuts to 155. And at 170, I'm curious to see what he does, because I feel like he looked better at 170 than he did at 155. So I believe Islam, and I don't think that Ilya could make the weight now. But do I believe when he vacated it, he could make featherweight again? I don't think so. I think money gets involved, and you're like, I don't really want to sweat these pounds out anymore. I think I'll move up 10 pounds. In this case, it's 20 pounds. In this case, if you look at Khamzat's career, it's 35 pounds. So pretty big. That's what I'm saying. I think it might be a little more than he could chew. But is it dead? I wouldn't say that. Let's see. Like I said, I think there's going to be other announcements. Let's see the other announcements. Let's see what they do with the White House card. It seems like they might be doing, I heard Bo Nickel tweeted this out, that he said, shout out to Kobe Covington for accepting a challenge or whatever, and was like, see you soon at UFC and this, that. So I think that maybe there's maybe a fight to actually be had, and that's crazy. 185, Kobe Covington moving up. That would be good for the White House. You got two Trump Glazers obviously showing up with Kobe and Bo Nickel. So that would just, like I said, they're going to bring out all the Trump Glazers. John Jones, Bo Nickel, Kobe Covington, Michael Chandler, all that. Caesar's in the Discord, I see. Curious what he put. He sent a little image, I see. Shout out. If you guys want to join the Discord, you guys can join, and you guys can see all the fun stuff we got going on. We do sometimes some live streams with some calls. We haven't done that in a little bit, but who knows? Maybe we'll get to it. I wouldn't mind doing that again soon, to be honest with you guys. I also want to plan some more fun streams, man. I definitely want to do some stuff. I might, actually, I didn't even announce this, and it's crazy I'm live now because, guys, I'm probably going to go live tomorrow after the Sean Strickland fight, and we'll talk about Sean Strickland. Maybe we'll get some announcements. We'll see. Who knows? We'll see. But I'll probably talk about it there. I don't think I said who I think is going to win, but who do I think will win? I think, honestly, Hernandez will win. I think that him mixing it up, I think he'll be able to take down everybody. Not everybody. Take down Sean Strickland, but I think he can take down everybody. What do you think of MMA Joey? So, no, I've said, I'm not really a fan of MMA Joey, but to be fair, I'm not really a fan of most MMA guys, most MMA YouTubers. I don't really watch too many. I should, bro, because at the end of the day, we should collab more. The MMA community, this creator community, is, man, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I feel like there's a lot of egos in this game, and it's really cringe. It's really cringe, and I just think, at the end of the day, I think there isn't this collaboration mentality, you know? Like, there isn't like, oh, people trying to collab, trying to do stuff together, trying to bring each other up. It really feels competitive. And I understand maybe it's because it's MMA, and look, maybe they're used to covering a sport that is so competitive and so isolating and so lonely. But it's like, dude, at the end of the day, like, if we all bring each other up, and I'm not even saying, look, necessarily, I'm not even saying like, I'm not even saying here, like, look, listen, like, that I've dealt with somebody with a big ego. Let me try to think. Have I? No, I haven't personally, but I've just been met with, I almost feel like the doors of MMA, this MMA media space is locked, and it's like gatekept. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's gatekept. And at the end of the day, if a lot of these creators would collab, it wouldn't be gatekept. You know what I'm saying? Because then you got leverage and things like that. So I do think that that there should be more collabs. And I always say that. And look, the people I've talked to, the people I've actually collabed with are, you know, I collabed with JackMMA, if you guys remember. Shout out to him. He was dope coming on the channel. Also with Gonzo MMA as well. I went on his channel and stuff, and I was on his, you know. So I think the collabs are great, you know, and I always say, look, hit me up. I think that's a big thing. Personally, it's hard for me because to always reach out. I did used to reach out, obviously, a lot back then with the fighter interviews. Remember, I did some fighter interviews, and I do want to do more. I want to do more and post it and get into it. It's just like I said, it's the MMA doors are locked, but you know, I think I'm gonna try to get a little bit more into it, like a little more connected. You know, I would love to get news and break it to y'all and give you guys the exclusive, ideally. But that's extremely difficult to do. You got to really be in the community for that. But I feel like, yeah, like, why not? Like, you know, you bring up MMA Joey, like, collab with these guys. I hear he's a very, you know, I've heard stories of him being like, you know, seeming like he has a bit of an ego. It's, you know, it's cringe, man. You know, it's just at the end of the day, we're all creators trying to do shit. And I'm saying this because, as you guys know, I have a podcast that's not about necessarily MMA. It's more like a comedy type shit. The Mic Check, shout out to that. You guys could look up the Mic Check NYC, or I'll put in the link, I guess. But well, I always mean to put in the link in the description, but you guys could look up. It's the Mic Check NYC. And look, there, you know, we're bringing on people, we're bringing on guests, we're bringing on this, that. And it's a lot easier to collab with people. Obviously, I'm from New York City. It's a lot easier to collab with creators of comedy and you know, music and things like that, like influencer, than, because they understand that shit. But content creators with MMA, they're a different breed. It's not exactly the same. I think it's a lot of wannabe isms, in my opinion. But that was my long-winded answer about when you asked me about MMA Joey. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's see, where was I? Because I saw a lot of chats were going by as I was giving that long-winded speech. I think Gary wins. Yeah, I think so too. It's very difficult to guess how Khamzat fight will go, especially up a weight class against a guy like Gary. I agree. There's a lot of unknown factors. You know, there's a lot of unknown factors. Like I said, how will you handle it? I know. I could talk about it all day, but I think that I think Khamzat will wind up gassing because of the weight himself, and also having to take down and grapple and control somebody that's bigger than him. Jiri has a chance, but Jiri is so bouncy on the feet that it has that lead leg there for the oh yeah, that's true. That is true. Takedown heaven. Yeah, it is true. He is a very wide guy. I would assume obviously some of that would probably change. But also, Jiri's a guy that kind of fights to, hey, look, I'm going to fight me and see what happens. He doesn't really, I feel like, prepare necessarily for specific fighters. I don't think, you know, I don't know. Maybe he does. I have no idea. Quit overhyping Jiri. This will be a very unimpressive win for Khamzat, for the guy getting dominated on the ground by old Wash Glover. Good point. Khamzat does way better than Glover, and Glover lost by fluke. That is a fact. I will say, look, I can't argue with that. That is good points in there. However, I'm not hyping up Jiri, guys. I've literally just said it's because of the weight. I'm not claiming that this guy is, oh, no way, Khamzat's gonna. I'm not saying that. I said it's a close fight. A lot of it has to do with the weight. Look, if they were the same weight, maybe this would be a different story. Probably would be a different story. If he was a middleweight, I'd probably say I'm not so comfortable with that. So I'm not here hyping him up. I'm just saying what I think, all right? But you did bring up a good point with the Glover thing. I won't lie. As much as you said I was overhyping, I'll say the Glover thing was fair. Yuri has trained, I believe, in the same gym with Khamzat before. Wow, in the past, that's great. I think you're right. Yeah, I think I did hear something like that as well. I think you're right. So that'll be interesting. And I already answered them. My Joey one. Are you going live tomorrow? Let's go. Yes, like I said, I'll probably go live right after the main event. So we'll see. And I'll react, talk about it a little bit. Hopefully y'all are down. Hopefully y'all are down to tap in. W take. I don't know if that was about the MMA Joey stuff, but thank you if that is, because I feel like there's a long-winded speech I gave. Got 220 pound, I believe that's pound, on Strickland at plus 250. Nice. So I don't know, what is that? That's like a lot though. It's like 500 something in return. What is that? Like 600 in return, something like that. Oh shit. Dana White responded, which I want to talk about as well. Apparently Dana White just made out some response to Eddie Hearn over signing his fighter. Oh no, he posted a little cigar. Let me try to show you guys. I'm gonna show you guys on the screen right now, just because I know, like, you know, I don't want to do y'all slime, and y'all can't see this shit. This is some crazy shit. All right, look. So Dana White just posted this on his story. Okay, I'm sorry guys. This is taking 7 years. Boom. That's tough, guys. That is tough. So you guys can see this Dana White with a cigar right on his mouth. Pause. Smoking appears on Eddie Hearn and Zuffa Boxing, man. So obviously we didn't really talk about it this stream, but I did want to touch on it a little bit. Zuffa Boxing picked up Conor Benn, signed Conor Benn. So tough, because obviously Conor Benn has been with Eddie Hearn for a long time. Eddie Hearn backed him even when he was popped for steroids. You know, he apparently gave him $100,000 behind the scene, has been with them, promoted him. Then didn't even really kind of talk to Eddie about switching over to Dana White. He signed a 1-fight deal, 8 figures, which is insane. That, I mean, originally, I mean, I think I would be more pissed about Eddie Hearn if it was multiple fights. I think a 1-fight deal kind of feels like, hey, who's to say, hey, I take your money and hey, I'm back with Eddie. Peace out. You know, I got an event, and kind of that's bad on Zuffa. Looks bad on them. But to be honest, I think with the Saudi money, I don't know if how much really is he's probably gonna sign on for more, I'd imagine. You know, will they actually make the deal longer by now? Who knows? Even in the future, before he fights, will they try to extend it or do something? I don't know. You know, because if he, you know, or are they gonna pair him up against one of their boxers? That's a very good boxer that they believe in. I don't know. That would be interesting as well. You know, is that what this is? Is this just a ruse to set him up, get him to lose? That would be really bad for Conor Benn coming back, because then who's going to want him? Probably not Eddie Hearn even. I think if Yuri survives the first 2 rounds, he will win. Yeah, I think so as well. But I said that about DDP, to be fair. Joey's beard is chopped. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, I want to grow a beard myself, but I've just read ahead. Zaddy, I love you. Read my good night chat, please, Zaddy. Oh, there's a good night chat that I didn't read yet. But you're actually next. Well, not next, but there is MMA Jack before you. But I'll read your thing since you're going to bed. Just like that, my night has come to an end. It's been an honor to be in your stream. Good night, Goat. Damn, I appreciate you, Michael Wade. Damn, I'm glad I read your message, man. Thank you. Shout out to you. You're also a GOAT as well for tapping in, hearing me yap, and thank you all. So shout out to you. Good night, Michael. Dream of me. Let me be in your dreams. All right, please. Some of the best MMA moments from creators are from collaborations like I said Lukey Tracy. Lucas Tracy, Bedtime, and Guru collab, even if you don't like them. Yeah. Exactly, like that type of stuff, and even that, I mean, that is like obviously the biggest of the big collabing, and it made all the sense in the world. And even that, how long, I mean, there's probably a reason they're not doing it, and there was a reason they weren't doing that for a pay-per-view. You know, there was a fight night, so I you know, even then it kind of just shows to me this competitiveness where it's like, dude, it's not really like that. Like, it's cringe. And you even hear, I mean, you hear the MMA Guru, man, he's cringe talking about it too. He's like, I've heard him online say, like, oh, man, like I'm grinding. Dude, you're not, like, I mean, I hate to say this, that he's not grinding, because I know people are going to be like, oh, look, he posts this. Dude, what I always am, you know, and people say, I saw people on my first video about the MMA Guru, oh, you're jealous. I'm not actually jealous, except for this part. This I'm jealous for, but it's actually a compliment, so you guys will see, you know, is the fact that this guy, he doesn't edit any of his videos. The guy just, he talks. And honestly, I got to say, that is extremely difficult to just talk 15, 16, sometimes even I see his videos like 40 minutes, you know, to talk that long and not like, I feel like me talking. I feel like he's a really good talker. Like, you know, I think that is what helps him. And I think, look, that's a natural ability. That's, you know, but I don't know how that turned into a glaze. I was dissing him. What was I dissing him about? But then I wound up glazing somehow. I don't know what that was all about, but whatever. I don't remember what I was about to say, but like, I just feel like him, it's like he has a massive ego with the numbers and, oh, no one's pulling my number. Dude, it ain't like that. Like, you're not fighting for a belt, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people, like, yo, you'll get, like, a massive view on your fucking video, and then these guys act like, oh, man, like, I'm the fucking, like, they won a UFC title. Like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all doing the same shit here. I'm doing the same shit. I work extremely hard as well. I'm not here fucking, you know, crying about it and telling you guys how hard I'm working, you know, or whatever the fuck, you know. That's my opinion on it. Maybe I'm saying some hot takes, but that's my opinion. Just like that, I read that. Apparently, they've trained together too. Jiri and Khamzat, praying for Jiri wins. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about before. What do you call it? No, I think that they might have trained together. I think I do remember hearing that at some point. So, yeah, I think they did. I think I remember seeing, like, an image of them training. I think this was a while ago. But, hey, look, just because they train, I think, look, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I think that, especially with this being at a different weight class, like, I think there's so many different factors. Even if Khamzat, you know, well, if Khamzat actually did maul him in training, that maybe I would sway me a little bit. But, I wonder how much they actually did together. I don't think they were ever really trying hard against each other. Like, y'all are in different weight classes. I don't think they expected. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Khamzat, because Khamzat maybe he's like, hey, I'm big. I know that this is potentially a big guy. Let me feel how light heavyweight feels. Maybe. You know, and another thing too, it's not like Jiri was the champ and now Khamzat's like, all right, let me fight him. And okay, that's a little suspect. Maybe you destroyed him in training. This really was him going up. Maybe he wanted Pereira. Maybe who knows who he was expecting. Let's see. Fair points too. I think he's too OP for Jiri. Too OP. Oh, Khamzat. That's what I'm worried about. I think his takedowns will, that's the problem is I don't think he's going to be able to defend the first takedown. I think the takedown, you know, his wrestling, I think, can go across different weight classes. Like, I think he could probably grapple with light heavyweights. I don't know if I wouldn't say heavyweight. I think light heavyweight is where we're pushing it at, but maybe heavyweights. You don't know. Probably certain heavyweights, yeah. But I'm talking about a decent wrestler heavyweight. You know, like a good wrestler heavyweight for the UFC. You know, not decent in the real world, but decent UFC level. So I agree. I think that potentially that, and like I said, people talking about Yuri's pressure. You know, he can't really have pressure. Khamzat Chimaev is sparring with Khalil Roundtree, apparently. So, mid rumors of 205 pounds. So, that could be big as well. Big indicator that he could be moving up to 205. I remember Khamzat calling out Jiri back in 2023. I don't remember that, but probably because he was the champ or something like that. Probably just forgot about that slightly. Giving up on life, not gonna lie. Why are you giving up on life? Come on, tell us. Don't give up on life here. Guru is an OG for sure, and he was one of the first mainstream figures on MMA YouTube and speaks his mind honestly, but he falls short in actual content when it isn't drama or raging at fights. The thing is, actually, too, is he definitely has a lot of knowledge on MMA and UFC. You know, it's just, to me, like, I'm more of, I would, personally, for me, I'm not, like, watching, like, rage, like, you know how he is, like, oh, so raging. Like, I feel like it's too animated for me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cool it down. I'd rather watch like a more, like, I don't even really watch too much MMA stuff. Like, usually I'm on Twitter for my MMA stuff. Like, my MMA, I don't really consume too much, like, YouTube media in general, like movies, shows in general. I'm usually on Twitter. Like, I'm more of just like a social media guy, to be honest. So that's where I think I'm coming from with that. I don't really like watch as many, but there's definitely, like, if news happens, I'll definitely tap in and especially for events. But I feel like I'm more of like an interview guy, watching the fighter interviews, that kind of guy. But Guru though, but I also like a good breakdown, especially, you know, when someone is very educated, when someone or when they're breaking down film. I love that. Oh my God! Apparently Dana White says, "Incredible day at Donald Trump." This is great. Oh God, let's see this, guys. Dana White. Oh, that was what the. Oh my God. So that thing I showed you. This. Oh, is this fake news? Hold up. I don't know. It said Zuffa Boxing, but then apparently he posted the same image and said, "Incredible day at." Let me look at a story myself, I guess, because I'm a little confused. Which one? It's the same image. This one he posted. Apparently Dana White said, "Incredible." I'm gonna show you guys on the screen, but he says, he's incredible day at the real Donald Trump White House fight." So I guess he's saying that the White House fight is probably official or done deal. I would assume that's why he's smoking to celebrate. Interesting. So yeah, apparently incredible day that apparently White House fight, according to Dana White, could be potentially done. So could we see announcements soon? That's possible. I'm gonna look up Dana White's story right now, just so I can confirm. I'm kind of confused a little bit. Was the Zuffa Boxing thing fake? What was real here? Oh, actually passed it. Oh no, he posted. It was both the same image. You guys could see. So it's kind of hard. It's blurred, but you guys can see. Look, this is the Donald Trump thing, and this is that. So White House car and at Zuffa Boxing. So I assume he's probably celebrating both big W's for him today. But I feel like the White House one was probably the bigger one of that chunk, which I'm surprised I didn't hear about, which wasn't posted in the first news thing. But yeah, so he was with Donald Trump. Probably said, "Hey, look, this is what we're thinking. What do you think about these things?" And I'm looking at also Khamzat and Khalil spar. It'll be interesting. You play Rocket League? No, I played one time. Like I'm talking probably like 2021, 2020, something like that. But 2020 probably more so. But not like in the past 5 years or anything. I played like one time, I think. So I'm not really familiar with it. I kind of agree. Like Guru is super pessimist and talks about the grind when he literally just reads chats and posts unedited videos. I like him and he's super entertaining, but for the amount he makes, he needs an actual social life. I pray that's why he hypes himself so much. Pray bro finds it. What happened to healthy Dana White? So yeah, there's a lot to break down there because that's funny about Dana White, the last comment. But I agree with you, and it's like, look, I understand. Look, one thing I'll give him, he does stream a long time. Like, I don't stream as long. I did stream that the one time. Remember, guys, I was like up all night streaming with y'all. But what you call it? Like, I get, maybe it's hard, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's like you said, like he's just reading chats. He's posting videos unedited. He's literally sitting down, just talking for 40 minutes, uploads, and calls it a day. And I'm not saying that. Look, the only reason we're bringing this up is because he's the one that is bringing up the grind. So now we're like, you're calling into question the grind. So we're calling, all right, you want to talk about your grind? Let's actually look at it. I think it's cringe, to be honest. I just think it's cringe, and I just think it like you just said, I definitely think bro definitely needs a social life. Like, I think something's wrong with the guy, man. He probably is an oddball. And the truth is the way this game goes, and especially if you're going to be like that, how he is, how you're not going to even, that is, I think, longevity, making relationships, collabing with people. Oh my God. So, okay, we have Conor Benn's reported number. We're getting a lot of news right now popping in through. We have the number that Conor Benn apparently got paid for. But let me finish this real quick. Like, I think that Guru, yeah, I agree with you, actually. But I think that the social life thing, he needs to also get a social life. I think that it's a little weird, man. I think that it's a little weird for a grown man to be acting like how he acts, like I said, a lot of this shit, people say, oh, you're offended. Dog, nobody's offended. This is shit. Like, I was in middle school hearing this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was in middle school hearing people say the F-bomb, saying the N-word. You know what I'm saying? This is all fucking, like, you really think I'm offended? I could care less. You know what I'm saying? I could care less about, the F-bomb, this N-bomb, I don't care about, I'm not going to get upset about it. But it's like, dude, it's just, but I'm not going to sit here. And that's the thing is people act like this. There's no in between. It's either you're fucking offended and you're crying about it, or you are jumping for joy. I think there's a middle ground, and I think probably 90% of people fall in that middle ground where they just don't give a fuck. they're going to see it and either think, oh, okay, whatever, I don't care about it that much, it doesn't affect me, or people are going to look at it and say, that was cringe. Or people are going to be offended too, but I think it's cringe. I just think it's cringe, and I think it's forced. I think it's very forced, and, a lot of this stuff, that we're seeing, and it's just like, all right, whatever. I could care less about it. It's like, give me a fucking break. I'm not going to cry here about it, but for people to be like, oh, like it's crazy. Like I'm the fucking crazy one. Like I see like a UFC guy, he's like fucking praising Hitler. And then I'm the crazy guy for being like, oh, that was a little weird. Like, okay, I'm the fucking crazy guy. Conor Benn is getting paid apparently $15 million for his debut fight with Zuffa Boxing. This is according to Dan Rafael, who's a very notable reporter for Conor Benn. So $15 million for one fight. That is a massive deal. Don't know how much he was getting paid last time, but probably not that much. What happened to healthy Dana White? That was funny. Yeah, no, Dana White, I think he's been talking, man. He's been off the health grind, so who knows? Guy, I talked about this a few streams back, but dude, it's scary, man. They said that didn't they say bro was gonna die like 59? Like, how old is he now? Like I'm seriously like, I'm thinking of Zuffa Boxing, like, bro. I've said this before. I think Zuffa Boxing, the biggest threat to Zuffa Boxing is legitimately like Dana White dying, because I think that I think they will wind up like, I think in 20 years. I think they'll probably monopolize the sport as they did with MMA. Just because, like, Eddie Hearn, it's going to be increasingly difficult. Right now, it doesn't seem like it. Right now, it's like, what? But the Eddie Hearns, the fighters of today, are going to be gone. And what's going to happen then? What's going to be left? That's the big question for me. And that's why I think they will succeed. Obviously, their events, it's not like we've seen, oh, my God, these events are amazing. We can criticize their events. Obviously, they've been in the apex. Like, there's tons of shit. But they're also just starting out. This is their first month. They're going to have an event. They're going to have Jai Apataya, who I think was a really good signing. And it'll be interesting to see because, the UFC, if the UFC can really blow up Jai Apataya, that actually helps them so much because the UFC is facing a class action lawsuit right now where they are basically accused of, hey, you're buying out the competition. And one of their major defenses was, especially, I remember they pointed out, Ronda Rousey. I think it was Ronda Rousey. And they were like, look, Ronda Rousey with Scott Coker, she was nothing, but then she signed with us and we knew how to promote her. We knew she could be a star and we built her into a star. That was their argument for it. So if they could actually do kind of a similar thing with Jai Apataya where, obviously Jai is a pretty big guy, not really that big in America especially, but if they can make him, pretty decent name, that would be really impressive. And I think that they have the clout and they have the popularity just to do it. I think just the story of Jai Apataya signing to Zuffa, I almost said UFC, to Zuffa, that is a big enough story that I think will promote his name, interestingly enough. His formula got him to the top. Low effort, max outcome, and generally attentive. Oh, this is about McGrew. Generally attentive audiences, and he does burn so many bridges just to be edgy. Exactly. It's like, dude, like even with the DJ thing, let's be real, bro. Like, I understand you're doing what you got to do to get up, to come up, to blow up, and I understand. Okay, maybe he was being a little rage baity here or there because the guy wanted to make a name for himself. But it's like, dude, you're at a position where you could legitimately have a career in the sport. You have a big following. You don't have to do unnecessary things, or you could just act with 2 brain cells. You could literally just think with 2 brain cells, and you probably would make a lot of money. And DJ, you have a good relationship with DJ. There's reasons why, like, and this is what I'm talking about. MMA is a gated community. That is what, and someone said about burning bridges. That he burns bridges. That is the problem, is you burn one bridge, you're burning the gate. You're not getting in. Like, that's tough, And I'm not saying that, I would never suck up to somebody necessarily or all glazed to, get in. But I'm just saying, like, but you don't got to be a dickhead. Most people are chill. Like, be chill. They'll be chill too. It's there's a lot of egos, like I said, in this game, but it's about talking to the right people, really, meeting the right people. And MMA is such a small sport. That's really becomes difficult to do it, in my opinion. Low key, I'm a dead man. Why are you a dead man? You've been saying this like fucking the whole time, Duke boy. Bro, you got to talk it out with us, man. You got to talk it out. He's funny though. Fight Milk said about MMA Guru. I mean, I guess I don't really find him that funny, to be honest. Most of the time, has he made me laugh? Probably, yeah. And he's probably told funny jokes, but is he generally funny? Not really, to me. You know, from the stuff that people have been like, oh, this is funny. I'm like, it's not. Like, making a joke about Michael Chandler's kids or being black or something, or I don't know what he said. I don't want to say, and I forgot what he said about them, but it was just like, okay, all right. I mean, it's like, all right, dude. Like I said, like, you know, and I'm not even the type to say, oh, you can't say anything offensive. If the guy was saying things that actually, okay, were funny jokes, there's a way to be funny and talk about controversial topics and joke about it. And when you're getting mad, oh, you got offended. No, it's just you didn't tell the joke right. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you got to take self-responsibility, which he doesn't do. You know, like you're not telling the joke right yourself. So that's a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen how many comedians talk about controversial things and don't get canceled. Why? Because it's about how you talk about the topic. It's about making a funny joke that makes it worth, okay, yeah, maybe he said it was offensive, but he said it tongue-in-cheek. He said it in a funny way. He's obviously joking. That is where you talk. But it's not that we're offended. We've heard this stuff before. There have been way worse jokes made that people have accepted. It's crazy, you know? Zuffa will 100% take over boxing. He needed an overhaul for so long, and this whole influencer plus MMA / boxing crossovers have been cultural anticipation of this. I agree. Yeah, I think that's actually, I can't disagree with you. I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see what Eddie Hearn can do, and Eddie Hearn, I think, is a great promoter himself. I love Eddie Hearn. I've always loved Eddie Hearn. I like Eddie, man. I think he's a good guy. In general, you know, I have a lot of respect for him, and he's put on amazing events. He's put on good matchups and done great things in boxing that he probably will never really get that much credit for. Because obviously now Dana White's like, you did nothing in boxing. I mean, dude, the guy is, I think, was the one to kind of, I think, reach out, like kind of not reach out, but I don't want to say he reached out, but he was one of the first boxing events. It was the AJ and Ruiz rematch that was in Saudi Arabia. So he kind of started in a way. I don't want to say he started the relationship because I don't know for a fact how it all played out. And I could just be wrong in misremembering, but I'm pretty sure he kind of had something to do with this whole Saudi Arabia entering boxing, which is the whole existence to Zuffa boxing, which is kind of funny if you think about it. And a little bit of karma if you think about it, because Saudi Arabia, you know, they do say it's a little bit of blood money and this and that you're taking, and now your business is killed because you did it. But I don't think, and here's the thing, I'm joking, because I don't think that Eddie Hearn's business will die. I don't think that Matchroom is going to go out of business anytime soon, that's for sure. I think what will happen is Eddie's going to get older. I think in 10 years, 20 years time, he'll probably have retired already. I think he even said recently, I don't know how many fights I have left to promote. I think he said. So even then he might be already thinking about, hey, I want to leave. And things like that. So what will that look like? You know, will he retire in 5 years? And if he retires in 5 years, who else is there in boxing? Who else is there other than Zuffa? You know, there's pretty much no one that's consistently putting on events that people are talking about. You know, even, I mean, look, I'm not a huge boxing fan though. That's the thing. I'm not here watching, like, you know, there's a fight going on tomorrow. I'm not watching that. I couldn't even tell you who the fuck is boxing. And all that. Let's see. Can't stand Ronda. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Ronda's had some bad takes. Just dropped a follow. You're chill. You're a chill dude. Hope nothing but success. Oh, I appreciate Aiden Royd. For a minute, I thought you said just drop the follow. Like you stopped following me. I was like, damn. All right, man. I see. But no, I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, Aiden. Piggly Wiggly said, a fight I always wanted but never ended up happening was Khamzat vs. Shavkat back in 2023 when Shavkat was still at 170. Yeah, that was one that was really talked about. Personally, I think Khamzat would have won, to be honest. Especially now, I mean, with these knees. It's tough for Shavkat, man. I hope that the guy can recover. Okay, as a black man, the Chandler stuff was hilarious. Look, if that's what you think, that's fine. It's not even that I'm saying it's not funny because it's racist. Like, like I said, there's a way to make race. Like, there's been racist jokes made by comedians. It's not like I'm saying you can't make a joke about black people. You can't. it just wasn't. I don't really remember what it was, so I can't even really defend it and say, oh no, it wasn't funny. So I'm not gonna go so hard. If you're saying it was funny, look, it was funny. I mean, comedy is so subjective. I'm not as delusional to say my word goes and everything I think is funny, everything I don't think is funny is not funny. Like I'm not saying that at all. But so whatever you find funny, that's fine. But personally, I just don't think the guy's funny. I think he just goes at like low hanging fruit type jokes. It's like, okay, that's the obvious thing to joke about. You know, you're gonna scream, whatever. It's like, okay. But no, look, if you find it funny, look, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and say I've never laughed at the MMA Guru. He probably has. I can't recall, but he probably has. Especially like I used to watch him when he first was popping, when he first came out. I used to watch him a lot more, but I stopped after I would say like 4 months, 3 months. Became a little more on and off. Nah, his impressions have me dying. But I get you as another content creator who puts in a lot of work, sees him doing the bare minimum, seemingly, and feeling a type of way about that. Maybe I'm off, though. So, no, that's not the case at all. And that's what people have said in the comments. It's not about that at all. Like, I swear to God, guys, it is really not about the fact that the guy puts in no effort. I'm only bringing that up just because we're talking about the grind aspect of it. But I mean, I would say I definitely do. I don't know. I'm not going to assume and say I put in more effort than him, but, I'd probably say I do. I probably would guess so. I do work a lot because I work on two things. I work on the MMA thing and I work on the podcast. So that's a lot of work, both of them combined. But, I would say that, but this isn't coming from that. His impressions, like his impressions, some of them have been funny. Like I said, I'm not here shitting. Well, I am shitting, but look, it has nothing to do with the fact that he doesn't do a lot. There's podcasts that, also require not as much editing and things like that are just one-off go, and there's a lot of things that just don't require as much work. Personally, it has nothing to do with that. Seriously, nothing. It's not that. It's just that, like I said, I think it's more just the fact of his ego. I think that is my biggest problem with him. If I were to pinpoint anything, it's the ego. And it's like, drop it, bro. Like, drop the ego, man. It's like, that's the thing about the MMA Guru that I think why I don't necessarily like him is because if you're a guy that's gonna make jokes and say things, then you can't be salty. And he is salty. Like, he is always insecure about by bringing up his numbers. Oh, this is. I'm sounding like I wish I could pinpoint examples. Like I said, I don't really watch him. I haven't watched him. I have probably not watched him make a video since the one that, besides when I covered it recently, when I actually watched it. I hadn't watched one probably in months. Probably I think the last time I had to do a video on him and I had to watch the video. So I can't really tell you, this, but I've seen clips on Twitter and stuff, but it has nothing to do with that though, I promise. At all. It's just about him really and his content and his attitude. Anyway, back to fight talk, is what you were saying about Prochazka, and I don't know why I said Prochazka, about Prochazka versus Chimaev. That is not official. It's just rumors. Obviously it's not official, and I'm not claiming it's official, but we did talk about, I feel like a broken record here saying this, but I'm going to say it again because I'm sure there's new people here. Kevin K reported this. Kevin K has reported, not in my opinion, really, I think from what I've seen, to be honest, a lot of factual things. He's reported some, I wish I could tell you guys the thing that he reported, but he reported something that was really out of nowhere. It was like, oh yeah, that was a really surprising thing that the UFC did. Wow. And it was kind of not as big as this, but it was like, oh, the UFC's doing that? I'm trying to think. What could it have been? Was it Gaethje? I think it was Gaethje and Pimblett he reported. I'm pretty sure it was Gaethje and Pimblett, where that morning it was like, what? That's what they're doing? And then they revealed, oh no, they're doing an interim title. So I think he was the one that revealed, hey, they're doing Gaethje and Patty, or maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe. But regardless, he did report a lot of things correct. He has reported things wrong. I'm not going to lie. He's reported things wrong, and I've seen him be wrong about things, yes. But this idea, I see people kind of retweeting him and saying, this guy posts fake news every day. He's not one of those accounts. There's tons of accounts like that, yeah, all they do is, let me post, and then luckily, maybe they'll get one if they're lucky. Maybe they'll get one right. But he's not one of those guys. He's a guy that I think he probably, which isn't a good thing either, obviously. It isn't a good thing either, but I think he's a guy that just jumped the gun. And that's not good either when you're obviously reporting news and reporting about people. Like, you want to be factual, and even if it means that you don't get the story, it's better just to be right. You don't want to rush those type of things. And to me, it just seems like unprofessional journalism rather than him making up shit, which is obviously one is a little more forgivable. Obviously, look, I don't know his situation. Maybe he's just doing this and he's learning on the job, and this is what it is. In this age of social media, you don't really need to go to school, do this, to be a journalist, it seems, or a lot of people think. But I think it's good to have at least knowledge on journalism and this and that, at least if that's what you're wanting to do. And for him, I think it's just a lack of knowledge, just professionalism. I think that this is real, though. I do think this is real, and I think that I believe it. I do believe it's real. It's a really big story, and it's going to be crazy if it's not, because we just spent all night talking about it, but I think it is real. I really do. If I were to take a bet, I think it is. If Dana White has his way, it'll help because this is also such a ridiculous story in terms of, like, it's not actually happening. But like, it hasn't happened yet, but it's just and it's not ridiculous in the way that I think that the matchup is so bad that I'm not here hating on it, but it's just like, if someone said that to me yesterday, I'd be like, come on. Like, if someone told me last night, yo, Jack, I heard that Khamzat and Jiri, they're going to fight, I'd be like, dude, you're wrong. That's not happening. Like, that's probably fake news. That's just Khamzat talking. That's just bullshit. But, I mean, Kevin's saying apparently this is the case. Could be, like I said, this could be a case of Kevin jumping the gun, saying, oh, I talked to Khamzat's team. Maybe Khamzat's saying this to kind of spread a story. I'm not saying this to Khamzat himself. Maybe it was a manager, a teammate, or something like that, and he got wind of it and reported and said, hey, you know what? This could be right. Let me report it, and this could be a big break for me. That also could be true, yes, but I'm choosing to put trust in him, so we'll see. If he lets me down, I definitely will be way more cautious next time. Like I said, I would say on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident I am, I'd give him like a 4. That's how confident I am, because a 5, I would, if he was consistently right, I would say okay, but I mean, this Khamzat and Jiri news, we'll see. If Dana has his way, it'll help the lower level boxers, but will kill the guys at the top, making a massive part of the pie. Yeah, no, it will be good for guys entry level boxers, and there's a lot of benefits for being a UFC fighter. There are benefits, like you get the PI, you get essentially free. Well, they pay for your injuries after the fight. Which you're not getting probably in other promotions. You get the PI, you get physical therapy, you get a lot of those services, I think, for free. I think the physical therapy is for free. It's just in the PI, it seems. So you are getting a lot of things for free, and a lot of, like, benefits, but the guys at the top, and I still think even the benefits, like, why not give these guys health care? Why not give them things like that really would not affect, and I understand that. Look, we've talked about this before. Part of me does think that the UFC does not pay fighters, not because they're greedy. It's even worse, actually, if you ask me. I think it's even worse than just being greedy. It's actually like, I'm not paying these fighters because they need to be broke, so they're desperate enough to, accept fights. I think their fear is like, look at Khabib. He made a lot of money and dipped. Conor McGregor, he made a lot of money. He's been so unreliable for the UFC. If you give a guy like Pereira on his first 3 fights, $5 million, $10 million each fight, which is, I think, more than reasonable, you know what I'm saying, for a guy like Pereira with how much he's done for the company, the massive events he's headlined, UFC 300, UFC 303, which was International Fight Week. I mean, massive events that he's headlined. I think that's totally fair. But the reason they don't do that is because maybe, look, Pereira gets paid $10 million to headline UFC 300. 3 months rolls by. Hey, Pereira, can you step in on short notice? Conor McGregor got injured. No, thank you. I got my $15 million. I'll fight next year. See you in a year. I think that is why the UFC don't do it. And my response to that is, look, even if that's the case, which I think is wrong, we've seen fighters like Canelo that have made a lot of money that have also, consistently fought. So I think it depends on the guys. I understand it is a little bit of a risk if we're going to be legit, but I think it's just messed up. Like, I think give these guys what they're owed most of all. I feel like that's kind of the right thing here a little bit. Give them a little bit more money. But even if you're going to have that attitude, then I think at the end of the day, like, give them health care. You know what I'm saying? Give them other opportunities. Like, make their lives a little bit easier. Like, health care, realistically, they're not, that's not really gonna, that'll not make them say, oh, we're not gonna accept the fight now, I'm good to go. No, like, they're still gonna want their money for whatever stuff. And I think that I think is the biggest thing, honestly, why the UFC does what they do. But you're right. So it helps smaller fighters, but bigger fighters probably, or definitely, not probably, will definitely be stunted big time, for sure. Does Drekus or Strickland need a win more? So are you saying, like, do they need to win before going into the title? Well, I think Strickland for sure. I think Strickland obviously has the fight tomorrow. If he loses tomorrow, I don't think he's fighting for the title. It'll probably be Hernandez. If does TDP need to win now? That's even more interesting. I think so. Only because I think the UFC don't really want to have a guy who just lost to Khamzat be the champ, because it's just, if he wins, it's kind of like, maybe it just feels like, Khamzat, though, is the real champ. You know, it kind of feels like a fake belt. But maybe if you build him back up and give him a little bit of a storyline with it, maybe there's, who knows, maybe we could beat him. You know, there's a little bit of delusion there, you know, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to go with DDP right away. You know, you never know. I think that the UFC's number one thing has been scheduling lately, so you really don't know who they're going to go with. You know, if they need someone in May and Imavov, or not even Imavov, I think it'll probably be in May. This middleweight title fight is my feeling. Although if that is, I don't know if Hernandez or Strickland can fight. But that'll be interesting. But yeah, no, I think that DDP needs a win. I think more likely not. Wait, is Khamzat versus Jiri official? I already just talked about it. And Jack, should happen to call? I literally just saw your message on Discord, but no, I can't call on Discord actually on here because number one, my thing's been crashing and I'm gonna probably end soon. But no, I can't do a call now because literally my stream crashes a little bit because too much shit going on my laptop, so can't have another thing on here. But shout out to PZ anyway, bro. We'll definitely set something up in the future. I definitely want to do another like Discord call stream, that's for sure. Bring PEDs back to the heavyweight division to book Ty versus Shamil Kaziev. I'm trying to see some real quick. Yeah, that'd be fire. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. That would be fucking crazy. Khamzat haven't defended, bro. No, I agree. Look, I am not sitting here saying, I mean, I'm going to say this. I think that Khamzat deserves, and people are going to say, oh, some people will say this and say, this is wrong. I'm going to say it, though. I think that this is correct, and I want to know what you guys think, most importantly. Khamzat deserves a title. It's tough to say more, but I'm kind of saying more than Olberg. Because Olberg, look, he fought who did he fight? Dominic Reyes, who we know isn't exactly, you know, the greatest of wins you can get. What'd you call it? Then he fought Jan Blachowicz, which was crazy. So he fought Jan, and Jan, that was how long of a layoff and all of that stuff. So, you know, I don't think he necessarily, what I'm trying to say is I would be upset if there was a guy like Arman who's clearly the number one contender and he's getting skipped over, but that just doesn't seem to be the case to me. The UFC is an opportunity, kid, Dana White, yeah. Then that's exactly what they're saying to these Zuffa boxers, and that's what they're going to say, and that's the trick, that's the lie. It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up for sure, but it's going to happen, you know. This is what happens. I mean, it's corruption. I mean, it's corruption to the point that, I mean, we're talking that the fact that this law has been amended and all this, it's crazy, man. Khamzat's so entitled. I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying about Khamzat being entitled, but at the same time, I don't think so. I think that it's been fair. Like, look, he fought Usman. He fought Whitaker, which was a good win. Whitaker's a tough fight, you know. I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think they would have done it for a lot of other fighters, given the title shot up a weight class. Jack, I should have been more clear. I mean, which guy needs a win more? Oh, in the eyes of the fans for their aura. Both have disappointed fans badly, and I feel like it's bad news if either guy looks bad next. Oh, so you said Khamzat or Yuri? Oh, I think that Khamzat. Who needs a win more? But Yuri won his. Oh no. I'm reading the wrong chat. That's right. Strickland or DDP, who needs a win more? I think Strickland for sure, because Strickland, he has been, I mean, he lost the last fight and looked horrendous. The fight before that with Paulo Costa was a joke. He lost against DDP. I didn't think that was a bad fight. I know some people said it was a bad fight. I didn't think it was really that bad of a fight. Then he fought Adesanya, which was probably the peak of his career, like in terms of hype and fandom and stuff. So I think Strickland, because Strickland has been kind of, I think since he lost that DDP the first fight, has been kind of on a decline with the fans, and now we're seeing if he loses to Hernandez, that's tough. It's really going to be tough for him to continue this gimmick, of, let's stand and bang. It's like, dude, we're looking at your fights and they're not exactly matching up here. And we should talk about the Dan Hooker thing. Do you guys want to talk about the Dan Hooker thing? We should get into that, but let me finish reading this. There's no hype at light heavyweight. That's why I don't mind Khamzat getting a title shot. Exactly. I agree with you 1,000%. That's my position as well. No, he does not deserve it more than Oberg. Come on. So why I'm saying that, guys, come on. But you're saying, think about it like this. You're saying just because, Carlos fought dudes in that weight class, that makes him more worthy. Think about the guys he's fighting. Reyes, Jan. These are guys, like, come on, they're older guys. Guys have had, taken damage. To me, and even Oberg against Jan, didn't he struggle in that fight? I mean, he had some struggles in that fight. I don't think this guy is... I'm comfortable with him getting one more win. I don't think it's the end of the world, him getting one more win. And we're saying, just because he's in the same weight class, that means more than fighting DDP, who defended his title multiple times, and beating Robert Whittaker, who also was a UFC champion, and a good matchup, and finished him in the first round. And, Khamzat, I guess, outside of that was like Usman, but still, like, those are two big names, and I would argue that is way more deserving than Oberg. That's why I don't care what any fighters say. They're trading their health for money for themselves, but also for our entertainment, and should be paid way more. I know people shit on the Costa performance, but like Costa did, absolutely nothing. Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree. And I know that obviously also that he did nothing. Costa, I'm not trying to say it's only on Sean, but Sean also was pressing the fight and didn't really do so much either. So I feel like that's even more confusing. But as for the other part, look, fighters, it's just ridiculous to me. Just the gap. It's like it's such a gap between the brass and the fighters. Like, can we close the gap a little bit, bro? Or even, like I said, if the UFC don't want to pay, let them have sponsors, or at least give them healthcare. Can we at least get healthcare at this point? Look, I've settled for healthcare at this point. I used to drum on about the sponsors. Now I'm like, at least can we just get some healthcare, please? Can these guys go to the doctor if they got a checkup? Let their family see the doctor if they fucking are sick, for free? Like, please, can this just be normal? Thank you. That would be great. Quick question, dude. Prediction for tomorrow. I'm going to pick, I think Hernandez, just because I think that mixing up the grappling is going to be a lot. I know that Sean is a good grappler, but we've seen just Hernandez be a cardio machine. I think he's just going to keep shooting. Boom, boom, boom. Keep doing that. So I think that, he's going to win. I think he'll beat Strickland by decision. I think by decision, probably. Probably a decision no matter what. That's probably safe money, honestly. I don't think that anyone's knocking out anybody. Maybe a submission from Hernandez, though. You never know. Poor Kaikara France. Who knows what happened to him in that gym with Issy and Dan. Yeah, there's a reason bro ain't fighting. All right, there's a reason bro ain't fought in a minute, because... He telling his testimony. Let's put it that way. Let's talk about the Dan Hooker thing while it got brought up. So Dan Hooker, obviously, as you guys know, got himself in a little bit of drama. There's some big drama, and I might make a video on this at some point. I kind of missed the boat a little bit. I forgot what happened. It was right after I dropped the video, and I was like, I can't do back to back like that, and ruin the momentum of the other video. So I was like, I can't. It literally just happened. I'm like, fuck, man. But at the same time, it was good. The last video did really good, so I can't really lie about that. I can't really complain too much about that. But Dan Hooker got exposed from his side chick, exposed him. Apparently his wife knows about this, maybe because we're hearing other things from his wife's, Dan Hooker's wife's dad, which we'll get into as well. But basically exposed them, for, being with her, giving her gifts. Obviously nothing crazy there, but the big exposition, I should say, or whatever it's called, expose, was the fact that Dan might be, let's say, play for a different team. Let's say not for the ladies. Let's put it that way. Might be of seeing a boyfriend. So we'll see. I mean, Dan Hooker hasn't really commented too much on this. Just said what I missed, making jokes. Silence, the more silence goes on, it does seem a little bit more and more true. I didn't really believe it at first. I just thought this was something she was saying, and Dan was going to come up and be like, that's not fucking true. Maybe it is true, man. That's crazy. But Dan Hooker's wife's dad is, so that would be his father-in-law, came out, I saw on social media, and was threatening Dan, said, oh, if you want to fight, let's fight. Essentially, me and you've gotten beat up in your last fights in the, this is all the dad's saying, you gotten beaten up in your last fights in the octagon. You ain't a tough guy. You're just a fake tough guy with those tattoos. Fight me, bring it here, let's handle it man to man. So Dan Hooker, will he accept that? Will he be the bigger man and say, you know what, I'm not going to fight you, Gramps? Or is he going to show up looking for a win because he's right? You know, he did lose the last fight. Maybe he's looking for a win, but hopefully Dan Hooker just takes the high road there. But we'll see. Dan, I mean, look, I don't think anything, you know, the girl's claiming obviously that he's verbally abusive. He's a terrible dude, this, that. Who knows? You know, I most of all, I feel bad for his daughter, you know, in a way, because obviously his daughter and him have a close relationship. They have a YouTube channel together. His daughter's obviously really young, so I don't think she's necessarily in tap to what's going on social media and stuff, but, or anything like that. But it could be the case where she does wind up seeing this. Maybe she does know. Maybe this has created a lot of divide. And that's why I think, like, really, Gramps, you're going to come out on social media. Be a grown man about this. Like, what the fuck are you doing making this about you? What the hell does this have to do with Dan Hooker's father-in-law? You know, respectfully. You know, he wants to bring himself into this. We could talk about it, you know. But, and look, I like Dan Hooker, and this doesn't really change my support for Dan Hooker. I like Dan, you know. Either way, I'd be surprised. I guess I would be shocked if the guy was gay. Seems maybe he is gay, you know, at this point, right? Because I think the silence is deafening. The silence is pretty deafening at this point. Oh my God, I saw Dan not using the username The Hung Man was a real shock in the story. What a miss. Yo, dead ass, bro. He's got The Hung Man, bro. I'm fucking crying. A lot of content creators are going to look stupid if the rumors about Hooker aren't true. I've seen so many channels instantly reacting as if it's all true. Bizarre. You know, I think obviously, look, you could react, and I wouldn't halt them because I didn't make a video on it because, I didn't want to react right away. I understand that you got to be very careful with how you do it. Like, I always try to give benefit of the doubt and stuff like that when these things come out. Even here, look, I'm saying to you guys very blatantly, look, this could not be true. I'm giving you the full context. The source, Kevin K, he's been right about things. He's been wrong about things. I think that this is correct. It's about context. You know, I'm not coming out here saying, it's official, done deal. You guys know for me. I'm not saying that, right? And I think that's a bit of a difference. But, I agree, yeah. I don't know. I didn't really see the other content creators. I'm sure they probably had a field day with it, so probably, yeah. I could see what you mean, though, because I'm sure they probably were coming at it with different energy than I usually would. If this happens, you just wait and watch this man stall the division now and continue to be the most, the most inactive champion, except now it's going to be light heavyweight now. So they're saying about Khamzat going to move up a weight class, be inactive. Can't argue with you there, man. I mean, Khamzat is far from active. We're going to be lucky if he doesn't fight again this year. Fuck Khamzat. I mean, if it's, although he doesn't even have a fucking fight booked. It might be one time this year. What am I talking about? The guy doesn't even have a fucking fight booked. Oh, no, well, he might actually in Miami, right? So he might have a fucking fight in Miami booked. And it's like, in April, he has, 8 months to return. 8 months is more than fair. I just cut the inside of my mouth, I think. They only get health cover if they're hurt in the cage and can only get therapies at the PI. Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Health after the fight is the very least you could fucking do. Like, how about 24/7 health care? But you know what happens? Guys, this is the truth. If you do that, fighters will pull out of fights and say, I'm going to go to the doctor. And the doctor will probably tell them, hey, don't fight this, that. But if they wait, fighters are more likely to say, you know what, I'm injured, but I'll get the injury paid for at the end of this, so let me just wait it out. It's fucked up. You know, it's really fucked up. It's a system. It is a monopoly, you know. I hate to say it. It really is a monopoly, it seems. In my opinion, I should say. This woman may be telling the truth about Dan, but if you've never had an ex-girlfriend lie about you or go to the extreme lengths to make things up about you, you're lucky. I've experienced that. Johnny Monday reveals that he was exposed as gay back in the day by his ex. No, I'm kidding. No, exactly. And that's why I'm taking it with a grain of salt, what she's saying as well. I thought, honest to God, I thought the gay thing was fake. When I first saw it, I was like, Dan Hooker's going to come out later today, make a joke about it, and it's going to be fake. I don't know if it's fake because his silence has been crazy. You know, I would think he would be like, what? You know, because really, the guy, it seems like, hasn't done so much wrong in this situation because, like, you can't even really hit him with, oh, you're cheating on your wife. Well, his wife apparently knew about it, so it's not exactly cheating. It seemed like to be an agreement within their relationship. So there's nothing really to hate on it. I mean, you know, if you're really going to hate on him for being gay, I mean, I guess, but, you know, I mean, there's definitely going to be people that just hate on him because he's gay. I mean, I like Dan, you know. I'll accept you, Dan, if you're gay. If you swing that way, look, it's all good. The hung man, as they say. I'll be honest. I don't believe the Dan news. Like, she could have easily faked all that stuff to BH. Like, question the source. Lol. Also, Dan, father-in-law, plugging his own biography. I didn't even think about that, bro. That's fucking hilarious, dog. Dan Hooker's fucking father-in-law. They're right. So listen, I totally forgot about this, but Dan Hooker and Dan Hooker's father-in-law, obviously his wife's dad, was doing a video talking about Dan Hooker, in the video that I was just referring to of him threatening Dan and all this and that. And there he's like, I said in my autobiography that you were a nice guy. I regret that. Plugging his autobiography. So, you know, maybe, yeah, there's some truth there that maybe he was plugging it a little bit, trying to get a little bit of tea. But no, like you said, like, question the source. I agree. And you still believe it's fake. The reason I don't believe it's fake is just because I'm starting to think it's real just because of the silence. And I genuinely feel like the silence is because if he comes out and says that's not true, and the girl has, hey, I got concrete proof, this is actually legit, no questions about it now, and there's a guy coming out now, that's a lot of a hotter story. So I think maybe he's just going to be silent. And if he's silent and doesn't really respond, I mean, he's going to have to answer at some point. I'm sure he's going to be asked, right? Jack, get Dan's father-in-law on the show, and let's get all this straightened out. I will. I really will. Dude, I will. I'm going to try, Johnny. I'm going to try. And if I can get this done ASAP, oh my God, this would be great. Getting his fucking father-in-law on. That'd be so funny. I would love that, man. Let's do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to try tonight. I'm going to look into it before I go to bed. This will only improve Dan's takedown defense. I mean, maybe that's why. I mean, maybe it was like he's training his grappling, a little grapplers turn to lovers type feel, you know? Look, it's happened to the best of us. Pause. No, I'm kidding, guys. Not to me, guys. Maybe to me. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe me and Dan. Maybe me and Dan during our grappling sessions, you know? Is this side piece real? Is this side piece real? Every social media looks fake or work. No, it's real. I believe it's real. She is real, and is claiming this, and I think she's legit. She's posted videos and a lot of evidence herself of the fact that the relationship is real. Have not yet to see strong evidence that he's been with the dude, but it was a lot of like love notes from him. It was pictures of them together. It was pictures of videos of him sleeping. Very, very, you know, seemingly, oh yeah, I think it's probably correct. He paints his nails, man. The evidence was clear. Yeah, I mean, I think any guy that paints his nails, I mean, is there a straight guy that paints their nails, man? I'm trying to think, you know, unless like you're in a weird, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but you know, I don't want to say too much, but you know, if you're in a weird situation, maybe, you know, you're in a little bit of a woke relationship type feel, okay, you know, maybe that's what happens, because I've seen it to other people, but I wouldn't do that. I would be like, hell no, you guys will never see these nails painted. Never. You guys nail biters? What are you guys? Nail biters, nail clippers? What are you guys? Good questions to ask in the chat. John Monday, very professional for you to use John and not Johnny. I appreciate that for the chat. King Tesri says, Johnny Monday is the biggest anti-Khamzat fan. He has disgusting hatred where he goes to every single chat and promotes anti-Khamzat rhetoric. The UFC doesn't want to promote the fight until Fluffy and Sean finish tomorrow. Johnny, why the fuck are you going into every chat on YouTube shitting on Khamzat? I mean, what's going on, dude? I mean, apparently you're shitting. You're a desperate weirdo, bro. Write another letter. Write another letter to Khamzat for me. Nah, Johnny, come on, bro. I know you're a big Khamzat hater, bro. Come on. You're always on my fucking stream talking shit about Khamzat, saying he's a piece of shit, saying he should die, all this crazy shit, man. Be honest with yourself. I know he's speaking facts. No, look, Johnny Monday, man. Shout out to Johnny. I love him. more than the next guy. I don't think he's a Khamzat hater, to be honest. He's a fair guy. He's a very down the middle type dude. Some things we disagree on, but nothing outrageous. We have a few disagreements, but mostly civil disagreements, guys. Let me know, guys. We'll keep the chat going, but I might wrap this up in a little bit. I'm probably going to wrap this up in a little bit. It's 2:10 a.m. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to be live again. So if y'all enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Johnny, pipe down low, bro. Why are y'all teaming up on my guy Johnny, bro? I hate to see it. Fucking hate to see it, bro. Johnny Monday was exposed already. Johnny's just getting shitted on in this chat now. This propaganda that he's a Khamzat hater. I love it, man. He's the Khamzat hater. You just got to change your name now. I'm going to know you now as a Khamzat. Even though it's not true. Jack, hey, I own the Khamzat hate, but Desiree and I have had this debate before. He is a Chimaev super fan. Wow, no way. Damn, I didn't know y'all knew each other like that. There's really beef. That's what I love about the community, man. This community, there's literally beef inside the community we're having, man. I love it, man. There's, beefs inside the community. So it's damn, we really got to be, a family therapist and sit down and talk about this shit, and really get the community back on board. But, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, I think I talked about pretty much everything. Conor Benn, Dan Hooker. Was there anything else this week? Talked about Tattoo Tyra. Talked about my prediction for tomorrow. A lot of things. Casual MMA has tweeted out, I've confirmed that the Jiri and Khamzat fight is not happening. However, I will say Casual MMA have seen a lot more fake news from Casual MMA than Real Kevin. So I say, let's hold off. Let me see if Ariel Helwani has said anything about this, because he's usually a pretty reliable guy in terms of fight announcements, guys. That's what I'm saying, before everyone freaks out, because I know that I've said that before, and people are like, what are you talking about? You got to be real. His fight announcements have been usually correct. I saw Wade Plems. He said about Dana White is bullying Eddie Hearn at this point. Shout out to Wade, man. I like Wade, even though maybe some of his posts are a little questionable when he gets into the politics realm. It's are we really getting there? Are we really talking about all this? Are you really saying these things? But it's really inserting yourself into some of this thing. But I like him, though. I like him, and he definitely is an OG. And I have a lot of respect for him more than Emma Guru, because he actually is I feel like a guy that's grinded. If you want to talk about grind, that is the definition of a grind. Ariel. Let's see. Ariel, he's more reliable. He predicted the UFC 324 card, yeah. Well, not even predictions, but keep in mind, Ariel has connections with these guys. He's confirming this stuff. So I'm sure, I think we'll probably get something from him tomorrow. I'm sure he'll probably tap in and be like, oh, this is true. I've heard that this is it. Maybe he'll say, because I've heard him be like, oh, this isn't a done deal, but this is in the works, or something. Let's see. At 8 and Wade, I don't think so. He predicted the UFC 224. Yeah. If you look at MMA Uncensored tweet, Khamzat has already started training and shaved his head. He's definitely getting ready for something. Yeah, no. We saw him train with Khalil Roundtree as well. And here Johnny Monday is responding to King Tesri. You would have lost your mind if you heard Jack's show where I called in and pointed out Khamzat on PEDs. My opinion, with his fancy new cardio, you probably would have cried. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that stream. That was a fun stream, yeah, where you accused Khamzat of being a PED user. Johnny, man, put the fries in the back, bro. They're two teaming. They're two teaming you. What is that? Double teaming you? Pause. Double teaming you right now, Johnny Monday. They're fucking hitting you back and forth with this. Put the fries in the bag. Jack, I'll share your page. Some of my buddies. Damn, thanks, King Tendry. I appreciate it. Look, I love Johnny Monday, and I don't appreciate some of the things you're saying about him. Put the fries in the bag. It's a little mean, but look, I appreciate you. Thank you. Love you all, guys. Like I said, I'm probably gonna wrap this up now in a little bit, but I do love talking. Johnny, I actually respect how much you hate him, though. It's like Skip and Stephen A. Hey, at least we got some respect at the end. Jiri KO's Chimaev. That would be fucking awesome. I think it's gonna happen. I think it'll happen, to be honest with you. Keep your Chimaev fans away from Jack's show. That's funny. Keep your Chimaev fans. Now bring them, please. Bring your Chimaev fans. I'll take them. You know, Johnny Monday speaking for himself. I'll take them. I'm switching sides. King Tizzy, you're gay, bro. What the fuck? Why are you calling him gay? What is going on in this chat? I'm like literally laughing. Yuri beating Chimaev is okay for me. I love both fighters. I agree. But I would say I'd rather Yuri win. Am I a Khamzat hater? It is annoying that he's inactive, but hate is a little strong. I'm not like a fan, you know. But I am curious, man. This fight, and I gotta respect Khamzat, man. That's tough for him, you know. Like I said, if he stayed at 185, I'm sure this guy could have boom, 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 destroyed everybody. I mean, I would rather see Yuri Chimaev than Chimaev beat anyone else at 185. Those fights don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Don't accept me. I agree with you, and it makes sense. Like, and when you put it that way, I didn't think about it like that. I was looking at it from the light heavyweight POV, where I was like, you know, the Carlos Solberg doesn't deserve blah blah blah. But even Khamzat, do we really want to see him fight against Imavov? Not really. Honestly, this is actually really you know, when you put it like that, when you put it into that perspective, it really is maybe a genius move what they're doing, putting Khamzat back and at 205. That's way more interesting. That is way more interesting than middleweight. It is, but I'm just surprised, man. I'm just like I feel like it's a big challenge. Those MMA fans on Twitter that are like, we will KO them, they will fear us. When it comes to MMA fighters, yeah, those are tough. I will admit, yeah, the wheeze are pretty crazy. I get it. I'm a Christian, so it's tough knowing he's not my religion. Who? Oh, I would rather see. Oh no, I don't know who you're talking about. Yuri has an insane record: 31 wins, 31 finishes, 32 wins, 28 KOs. Yuri is so exciting. No, Yuri's a fucking beast. Yuri's one of my favorite fighters for sure. I love the guy. That's what I'm saying. I'll probably be rooting for him against Khamzat. And it's a challenge for him too. Like I said, the grappling, we haven't really seen him against someone so aggressive with takedowns. He's going to be aggressive. Obviously, even with the size difference, I think, look, wrestling, it's going to be tough. Tenzi, just leave chat. No one wants to hear you. Wait, why are you guys being mean to Tenzi? What the hell did you do this? That I feel like, shut the fuck up. I don't know what's going on, guys. I feel like you smell. Guys, what is this beef? Like I said, I feel like I gotta be like a family therapist right now or something. Who do you have in a mythical Khamzat versus Ankalaev matchup? I don't know. I said before, I brought it up before, and I was going back and forth. I said Khamzat, but then I was like, I don't know. A lot of question marks, but who would I pick? I would say, like, I want to see him at light heavyweight first, ideally, but I would pick Ankalaev, maybe? I don't know. I think that Khamzat probably has better grappling just because he's faster. You know, I feel like he's more agile, and I think that'll help him against Ankalaev. I feel like he could be a little stiff, and we've seen and I feel like Ankalaev grappling tires him. I honestly feel like that. I think that's a weakness of his that we saw Jan Blachowicz kind of do. Well, kind of have, because I feel like Ankalaev was tired. You know, he was getting a little tired, and I feel like that's why he doesn't grapple as much. And even against Pereira, I don't think he grappled that much because I think he feared, hey, me gassing out, I can't finish him, you know? Yuri is 6'4" with 80-inch reach. 80-inch what? Oh, yeah, 80-inch reach. My bad. We was going against Johnny. Big Ankh doesn't lose finish. Big Ankh doesn't lose finish threat as much. Yuri is stylistically the toughest fight for Chimaev out of everyone, both 185 and 205. Is that the truth? Toughest matchup. What about Adesanya? No, just kidding, guys. Relax. Yeah, Adesanya. Is that true? Potentially. Yeah, potentially, I guess. I can't really think of anybody else. Can't really think of many other people that would be more challenging for Khamzat. Yeah, I don't know. Ankalaev would smoke Khamzat. I have had a hard time I've had a hard time seeing a path to victory for Chimaev because Ankh isn't DDP on the ground. I agree, but I think, though, that the pace will be different. But that's my big question is how will Khamzat fare over 5 rounds? Because will he be able to keep that pace up? Something tells me no. So I think he might win the first 2 rounds, but the pace, how big Ankalaev is, and I'm sure he's going to show a lot of resistance. He's a strong guy. Probably just as strong as Khamzat. Honestly, I really like this move for Khamzat because Khamzat, I feel like he was really big for middleweight. This is guys that are his size, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to do. Is there a chance that the guy really does light heavyweight, he could have done welterweight. He fought Kamaru Usman when he wasn't the champ, but it was like a year, or it was like a little over a year, like a year and a half prior. He was the champ, which is crazy with the welterweight division. So he, probably, I don't know. Would he have beaten a prime Usman? I don't think so. Usman, man, because Usman was looking good in that fight, and that was very short notice. Or maybe was that Khamzat of that day that lose to Usman? Who knows? Maybe that was a bad version of Khamzat, because I've said before that was his first time at 185, in all fairness. That's why I said, Johnny brought up when he accused Khamzat on stream of using steroids. I said, look, his first fight at 185, maybe there's a lot of other factors. Maybe he just miscalculated the weight. Maybe there was an injury going on. It's not like he was consistently like that and then all of a sudden got better. So for me, is it possible? Perhaps. I'm not going to throw it out there. Like, I'm never going to be surprised at a fighter using steroids. But, I don't think it necessarily is obvious, or confirmed. No cap. Jiri flying knees, unorthodox punches, uppercuts, elbows, and has trained with him previously. Or has he stopped glazing? Mad weird. Brother, flying knee by Jiri by flying knee KOs. Jiri by flying knee KOs Chimaev. Oh yeah, that would be insane. By the way, guys, like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up in soon, so put in whatever last chats you got. But join the Discord if y'all haven't already. If y'all are typing in here having a fun time, go join the Discord because it's pretty much the same shit. Like, we're just talking about MMA. We're having ourselves a fun time. We'll be talking during the event, and then afterwards, I will be here to stream. So if you guys like what you guys have talked about here in the link in the description, like I said, Discord, the server is popping. We're always talking MMA. So, but yeah, Jiri by flying knee, holy viral. Could be. You never know. I don't think so, but I think, you never know. Honestly, wouldn't be shocked. At the end of the day, we need exciting fights for numbered cards that the fans can get that pre-fight feeling. You're right, and that's what I think that this has done. And I think you made that point prior about what else is there for Khamzat. It's true. There isn't so much that excites me about Khamzat. However, this does. This is like, oh shit, this is a tough fight. So I agree with you there. For sure. And like you said, it's a big fight. I think people are going to be like, what? Jiri versus... It's just shocking. Like, why? If Jiri versus Chimaev happened, then just means 185, 205, and heavyweight will be having vacant title fights. Not necessarily vacant for heavyweight. Remember, like we said, could be that there's a million things. Could be Pereira Jones, but even if it is Pereira gone, like you guys have been speculating, I don't think that's the thing. It could be an interim title. I don't think they're going to strip Aspinall, man. But you're right. It could be. It could be a vacant title. If it is, wow. Wow. I mean, wow, bro. I'll be on here, and you guys will see me beaming red of anger. Pigley, that's fine, though. We needed new fights anyway. Well, 185, 205, I like that shakeup, but not 205. I like Aspinall as the champ. Do an interim champ at heavyweight. I think ultimately they're going to do Jones versus Pereira. But who knows? I don't think we're going to get McGregor. McGregor tweeted out, that was another thing that happened recently, that he tweeted out he had a fight done. Was that the White House? Who knows? Who fucking knows, guys? All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been 2 hours. What a stream. Pigley said, I think it's for undisputed heavyweight title, not for an interim, I guess. Yeah, I know you think, but I think it'll be for interim. I think that's what I think, but could be wrong. I would be shocked if I don't see Jones fighting ever again. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, too. The Jones fight, yeah, I think it's fair. But I think if it's not Jones, I don't know. I want to see Usman fight Khamzat. In my opinion, their last fight was a draw. I agree with you. Usman edged the last 2 rounds. the 10-9. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a draw too. I didn't think that the first round in any planet was a 10-8. I think that's the biggest, craziest that's like one of the most underrated, not talked about crazy things that people just accept. A 10-8 in round 1? What are you talking about, bro? They know what damage was done. What damage? Like, we're supposed to be judging these on damage, right? What in like, it wasn't like, yeah, it was a lot of control, but that doesn't equal damage. You know, it was a lot of scrambling. I mean, it's crazy to me. I don't think so. What's your usual stream schedule, or do you just go random? I usually go random, but I'm doing now after fight nights and after pay-per-views, I go live. So I'm always gonna go live there, and I always go live. And let me say this here, actually. My intention with the channel is I'm covering more like I'm covering more stories, more drama, more interactions with fighters, more like this fighter said this about this fighter, you know, like I'll talk about matchups as well. But if there's big fight news here, like, oh, this pay-per-view got announced, I'm going to try my best to go live as soon as I can to talk about it. This was I wanted to go live earlier, but this was the fastest I could 2 hours ago, which was already pretty late from the news. But I will try as soon as possible to be live and to talk about it and react with you guys. So if there's a big fight announcement, big pay-per-view, a bunch of big fight night announcements, you guys can probably check it. I have the community page, I have the Discord, I have my Twitter. Also check out my Twitter and link in the description. That's the biggest thing. If you want to know when I'm going to go live, I always am going to post on Twitter. I'm going to go live later tonight, going live at this time. So those will be big things. So just want to clarify that. So yeah, that's my usual W stream. Thanks, Piggly. Well, good night, Jack. Glad your stream popped up on my For You page. Yeah, Aiden, Brand, I appreciate you, Aiden Way, for typing in the chat, for letting me know it popped up in your For You page. That's good. I'm glad it did as well. Because, you know, I'm trying to get these streams popping. I definitely want to stream a lot more, and get the videos popping. McGregor versus Taporia. My uncle works for Paramount. Okay, Matt, source, trust me, bro, is basically what you just told me. Ilya versus McGregor, source, trust me, bro. All right, I got you. All right, confirmed. Guys, confirmed. Ilya versus McGregor, which is the fight. Guys, I've been saying forever, this is the fight they should do. Kill McGregor off by Taporia. Get Taporia to be a big star. That's my opinion. Have it at 170 and call it a day. Islam should also move up and fight for the vacant 185 so we can have vacant 170-pound title. Yeah, what is this, like a fucking, like, musical chairs with these fucking titles, passing them to the fucking next guy, moving up weight class here and there. I wish this guy saying McGregor vs. Taporia was right. That would be amazing. I would love that as well. I agree. I think that, but I don't think McGregor is fighting. And I think he would be down to fight Taporia. I actually do think he would be down. That's a big fight. And he's a very, how could you not, you know, he's clearly a good challenge. The only thing is if McGregor was, and I think rightfully so, like, hey, I don't really want to dip my toe in the water, but McGregor is usually a guy that I feel like will fight anybody. Like, I don't really think he's a guy that's like, I don't want to fight this guy, as we've seen in the past. It's legit. They're trying to appease Gaethje. What is? It's legit. They're trying to appease. Oh, you mean about the title, or about Ilya and McGregor? But crazy how what is this? But crazy how they never stripped Jones. That's what I'm saying about this whole thing. That's why I think it would just be the blatant hypocrisy of not stripping Jones. That would be crazy. They're trying to give Gaethje a high fight. Who would that be? Maybe a Holloway rematch. Maybe Oliveira Holloway rematch with the winner of that. Maybe because then he can avenge those losses. But I don't know. Or maybe he just waits for Taporia to come back down to lightweight. And then you got an issue on the off chance that McGregor beats Taporia. Then what do you do? Because then you have him as the lightweight champ. McGregor's probably going to want to say, hey, I'll fight Gaethje. I want to be the champ. Does he just fight? I don't know. They're trying to give... then Ilya fights Ilya fights Islam 170 belt. Once Islam goes to 185, low musical chairs, you'll see. Yeah, exactly. Then Volk goes 155 to fight for Ilya's belt. They never stripped Jones because Dana White is married to John Jones. Of course, yeah, that's obviously why it's biased. He's a superstar, but I'm just saying, like, the hypocrisy would be so blatant. Jones versus Pereira, yeah, I would like that fight too. Also, let me peep before I end this, let me peep the poll. So it says 66% of people believe that Tom Aspinall will get stripped. So obviously I disagree. I said no. I'm in the 34%. I think so. Epic would cracked me up. Hey, shout out. I'm glad that y'all that y'all are having fun laughs. You know, I'm glad. Glad everyone's laughing, everyone's getting along. This warms my belly, I have to say. This warms my belly like Santa Claus on Christmas, guys. I think this is where we'll end things. 2 hours, pretty good stream, and we'll talk tomorrow night after the event as well. Tune in, tap in, get happy, get hyped, and maybe dance a little bit. Who gives a fuck? We'll dance tomorrow. Do a little floss, do a little this, do a little that. I don't know. What's your favorite dance move? This is part of the stream where I've just completely lost it, and I'm just yapping. Let me know, guys. We'll take a sip to end it. Thank you all. Will we see you live tomorrow? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yes, you will. Don't worry. We will. Bye, lad. Good night. Good night, guys. Good night. I love you all, and I'm a peace out. I miss you.